Welcome to the Grounded Movie, a collection of all my 100 Days series wrapped into one mega feature with brand new edits and cutscenes. With Grounded 2 less than 2 weeks away from release, figure it's time to get us all hyped, get us ready, and especially for newer players who may be even skipping Grounded 1, catch up with the story and what to expect. My first 100 days, getting the game 100% completed. 200 days, can I take on the Ant Queens and complete a giant castle? And then 50 days of getting through New Game Plus. Let's go, the Grounded Movie.
You can't run from me, you foul beast! You think you outsmarted me, the mighty Mulder? I don't think so, Yoked Girth!
Stay tuned for what happens next on Yoked Girth. Now a word from our sponsor.
Kids, are you ready for a new wild and wacky puncho fruit flavor? Introducing Apricot. It's a punch to the gut. So stop by, fill up, and make sure you get your Billy Hog hot dog before you jet away.
Good morning, Brook Hollow. Today is October 20, 1990. This is your news. We have a special breaking report. The police department has released information that more local teenagers have gone missing. They were last seen earlier this week, and the only connection between the teenagers is that they are all students at Brook Hollow High School. This could be linked to the disturbing trend of other possible abductions and missing teenagers from our otherwise quiet town. If anyone has seen the teenagers or has any other information, please contact the police department. The mayor of Brook Hollow has put a curfew into effect for anyone under 18 starting tonight. Now to other news. In the business world, prominent practical technologies sign secure deals with
We all know how to survive the first few days now, right? Kill some ants, take care of the mites chewing on the cable, and head over to the Oak Lab to hopefully talk to the demented Burgle. He'll give us some quests and some story, and you'll have just enough time to return home, make a lean-to, and maybe scan some of the bug parts if you've gone on a killing spree. And that was a super quick first day. Day 2, I headed out and got the Rotten Larvae Blade, a staple when it comes to killing some of the ants, as it does a pretty good job, meaning hopefully I'll be able to get the red ant armour fairly quickly. As you can see, I was in need of it. Maybe at this point I should mention, I started out this challenge as a hardcore one. If I died, that was it, I'd have to restart. So I was being extra cautious, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to take care of this stink bug using my bow and arrow. Spoilers, I die at some point, hence why I got turned into a 100% complete challenge instead, as I didn't want to waste all the time I'd invested. So I'm a little bit more cautious. We took care of some ant soldiers, got some upgrade rocks in the Forgotten Anthill, and went and started crafting that ant armour. Day 3 we headed down to the Red Anthill, specifically looking for maybe the bee armour. The rotten versions would still give us a much needed boost in protection as they were still a tier 2, and we got some eggs as well. I finished off today by going and getting the Stinger Spear in the T-Rex in the pond, and again this would help us out massively. Peeping creatures was crucial to completing a 100% challenge. You needed to peep every single one in the game, and that's what I did before killing this bombardier beetle. Admittedly, it was a bit tougher than I first thought, but now I had a shield, it was definitely a lot better to protect myself. I went and harassed all the larvae, yeah, the most annoying in the game for sure, until you meet their fiery counterparts a bit later, and then grabbed one of the omelette badges, another crucial part of getting 100% complete. Before heading home on day 4, we grabbed some of the berry chunks. I finally built a rudimentary small base at day 5 and we got ourselves a tier 2 hammer. This was pretty speedy, so I was making good progress. We started to now gather all of the raw science which we was going to need to buy every single shop upgrade, as that was also another component, and you can see that I was going to start upgrading by getting the milk molars. Again, another crucial part of 100%, you need to find every single one. On the way home I stopped off at the mint box with my tier 2 hammer and we got ourselves our first candies. Also unlocking the fresh defense mutation by eating some of them. It felt pretty much like a speed run at the early stages. I now had obviously my aphid boots, which were definitely making it a big boost, and I ran over to the hedge as we started to think about completing it. Took care of the old rusty boys here and we went ahead and restored power to the resource scanner. I'd obviously pissed off enough of the orb weavers by killing their spiderlings that they were pretty annoyed with me now. Expect a raid very soon as I cleared out more of the raw egg pods to try and get enough bug parts to craft a tier 2 axe. I was feeling pretty cocky, so we headed straight over to the berry hedge lab and started to complete it, even though I was probably still a bit underpowered. Quickly found the password pieces we needed and took care of the more tougher Haze teas. We'd be back here later to pick up some collectibles, but now I had the tier 2 axe, I got the rest of the password pieces and we restored power to the closed door. This would then give us the burgle chip. This would now unlock zip lines and ladders and crucially advance the story. We spent the whole night exploring the hedge lab, so in the early morning I managed to get to the observation post and pick up the recipe for fighting the Broodmother later. Got 2,000 of that sweet raw science by handing a chip to Burgle, checked on them upgrades and had a mysterious dream that saw out the end of day number 8.
Please don't move and look straight ahead. I promise you won't feel a thing.
It's a go for molecular reduction. Spacer is primed.
Where you are going, all your worries will seem so small.
Day 9 I spent upgrading my armour that I had and getting ourselves a gas mask. I also taking out a bunch of creatures and finding corpses in the haze to hopefully get some extra bug parts. Pros of Grounded will know you should always head to the secret laboratory on the east side of the map, clamber up and get access eventually to the Pinchwhacker, one of the best early game weapons, not to mention obviously the Rotten Berry Charm too. With that equipped and the Stinger Spear, you could really do some toxic cloud damage against a whole host of creatures. We went into the Anthead Cave, the homage to the forest by the game devs, and picked up again the Rotten Ant Club as well as another recon note. I did some cheesy parkour to get up on top of the bird table, which worked pretty well, and we took care of probably maybe the second most annoying creatures in the game. You guys let me know, is it mosquitoes or is it lava? When I got home, that raid from the Orb Weavers commenced. Luckily I had enough resources to make a trophy, giving us some extra damage against them when you activated it. To be fair though, it wasn't exactly the most overwhelming raid, 2 Orb Weavers and a big daddy one. The rest of day 10 I spent gathering water resources, killing a bunch of the bugs to hopefully craft the diving gear needed for the next day's adventures. The bone knife would be my favourite weapon, I would say, after spears, so I was looking forward to eventually getting it. But first we had to dive deep and get the actual resources, including the coir scales and hopefully some bones. So that's what we did at the start of day 11, diving deep, trying to avoid Trudy, the killer carp, before going very deep into the actual pond itself. Again, probably not the best idea until you've got more of the resources you need. We just about made it to the terminal to go ahead and get access to the laboratories before turning on the breaker, and now we'd have to go and find all 3 switches. But first I had to take care of Sparky Boy here. Oh, damn it, that was pretty quick. Oh, there we go. I went and did the hardest one first, which was in the broken parts of the laboratory. Switch 1, switch 2, and then eventually switch 3. Diving bell spiders, possibly number 3 most annoying bug in the game. Finished him off and then restored power. Dealt with the mini onslaught of Haze teas before heading up to the actual dome itself, and another couple of the Arcar Sparkies. which are ripped apart with my pinch whacker. Oh! Oh! Sneak attack! Grabbed a whole bunch of the muscle sprouts, obviously, to make our super smoothies, and we got the next chip. As well as turning on the power to the dome, this was the second major lab complete. I had a lot of work to do in the pond before we left though. I gathered more of the resources so we could get better upgrades, as well as the sunken key and a new omnant card in the wreckage of the broken lab. Not that I need this one much, it was meant to give you protection against the haze, but only about 90%. With the key, I opened up the buried treasure chest, more sweet molars, before more scanning of the brand new resources to hopefully unlock new recipes. On the exit out of the pond, I went through the secret laboratory that's underneath the depths, grabbed more upgrade materials, and finally we were clear of the pond as the end of day 11 came about. Handed in the burgle chips, got more raw science and a quick look at all the unlocks I'd got. Grounded pros start their day with a nice smoothie before heading over to the Forgotten Ant Lab to go through the underwater passage. I now had pretty much the best diving gear I could get hold of at this stage, so it was definitely going to be a lot easier than I've tried it in the past. More tricky diving bell spiders, lots of raw science and plenty of scabs. Remember, I've got to get 54 of them scabs also to get the 100%. Get a nice refill of oxygen whenever you kill one of these guys, and then I quickly spent the rest of the time exploring the pond, gathering more resources, raw science and rotten equipment from the caves that lead off the pond. Some though I'd have to return later when I had a tier 3 hammer. Finding some of the locations, again the landmarks that you need as data in Grounded is pretty tough, but we got this wedding ring one. Now I had 5 of these, I had now the Mertier mutation unlocked. With that extra speed boost and a little bit more oxygen, cleared out the remaining secret areas in the pond and we were done. I'd got as much as I could with the equipment available and then I headed home. Finished off the day by crafting my favourite armour and getting better upgrades for it before having another strange dream.
To go for molecular reduction, Spacer is fine.
Also did with the outfits and backpacks they were snatched in.
Body mass readout is an acceptable range. The skin fold degradation is minimal.
Specimen vitals are stable and holding. Looks like we've done it.
Great job, everyone. Let's set up 3 more trials for replication.
Sorry to crash your party. The Defense Department has arrived early to discuss Project Orc. The director needs you to be present at the meeting.
Not sure what's worse, our director or a 3-hour meeting with the military.
Day 13, it was time for the haze. I went over to the exposed pipe, my preferred way to get in so you don't waste any bombs. Especially now I had the tier 2 dagger, we took care of all the little flea bags. More annoying than really deadly, although the diving bell spiders in here would give me a run for my money in a while. That sweet purple gold combo. Not forgetting the scab that was there as well, took care of the diving bell spiders and I've got into the Haze laboratory. They're quite deadly these guys, but I gotta say I love the sounds they make, they're so cute. I hadn't really talked about these skeletons, they're former Omnium employees been sent here to find Wendell, and obviously I was picking up the remains of their Omnium work badges. More T-boys to deal with as we gained access to the first part of the Haze lab. I analysed some of the fungal growth and we got some upgrades before venturing into the explosive room. This is pretty dangerous, so make sure you've got your axe with you, obviously a tier 2 one, before cutting away and hopefully getting through without getting blown up. This one was a tricky one, you have to jump right in, otherwise it will just explode. Got a bunch of resources and granola bars, turned on the power to the second and final stage, and it was time to take on the infected ladybug. Because we were doing this quite early, it was a bit easier. Sometimes there's more mobs inside this room. Oh, apparently not. Apparently not. That was me saying this was going to be easy. Maybe not as easy as I thought. I definitely had the wrong weapon here. I don't know why I wasn't really using my pinch whacker. I've just been programmed to think that a hammer is always good for some of the bigger creatures. Oh! Oh, I nearly died there. Yes, I may be a little bit dramatic there, but don't forget this is still the hardcore challenge for me until much later. Oh, thank God. Oh, that's it, you kill that. You kill all the small ones. I did not know that either. But not the infected mites hiding behind the door. In bigger numbers, these guys can be pretty dangerous. You always want something quick to take them out with. Day 13 picked up the next burgle chip and of course more bombs, which I used one of on the way home to unloosen the spade, which would get us up to the picnic table a bit later on. Fed Burgle another one of his chips and we got more unlocks. Crucially, the oven. Baked bug snacks incoming to give me lots of buffs and boosts. Day 14 it was down to another exposed pipe to get the key that would help us unlock the chest on top of the picnic table. Tufts are your friends just in case any of these narky bees do knock you over. Also managed to grab some crow feathers and I met a black ant for the first time. So what did I do? I gave him a friendly poke in the eye. The bees also wanted a friendly poke. They were pretty annoying to take down, especially with maybe not the right weapon here. What was I saying about having a tuft? No! Oh my god! Oh! It took a while, but I managed to get back up to the Minotaur's maze. Took out another one of the bees. Slightly more success with the pinch whacker this time. Before getting the stage to coup de grace by turning the dice onto 20, if you didn't know that. Chest opened with the melted maze key and I had another burgle chip. This would unlock a lot of the candy modules. On the way home I went and collected a bunch of milk molars that were on the way. You need to collect 75 of the milk molars and 45 of the golden ones to get 100%. And of course making sure you spend them on your actual upgrades, where I usually focused on health and stamina at first. Bombardier beetles were on my hit list as I needed a ton of their bug parts to make ovens, especially for the mushroom making as well as the candy processing later. Things were definitely getting a bit easier now I had much better gear. Went and spent all the milk molar upgrades, especially also getting extra mutation levels. Before another strange dream. Don't eat cheese at night time, kids. Early part of day 15 I spent getting upgrades and sorting out a lot of my inventory. But as the sun dipped down I went over to explore the trash zone, taking a look at a sickly roly-poly, picking up a whole bunch of raw science and getting more of the milk molars. What I was really after though, not just the places to find, was enough black ant parts so I could craft a shovel. But of course milk molars were always welcome too. I had to venture into the black ant hill to see if I could find a soldier, as I needed some of the mandibles to craft the tier 2 shovel. Maybe gas arrows weren't really doing it, nor was my aim. But eventually we took one out and I had enough mandibles now that I could go ahead and craft a shovel. I was rudely interrupted on my way to the oak lab to hand in the burgle chips that I'd got by this all weaver. These guys weren't particularly hard nowadays. There seemed to be a pattern that every time I went and handed Burgle another chip and unlocking some new upgrades, the next time I slept I had another dream.
Dr. Schmector, these...
Director.
Director Schmector. These specimens are the breakthrough we've been looking for, just like you predicted. We're close to eliminating the raisoning problem. Our team was up all night recalibrating the spacer.
I see. Of course, my hypothesis was correct. I hope all of you remember this moment the next time you question my methods. Now then, what progress has been made on covalent space expansion? How did Dr. Wendell Tully, a lifetime failure, best the brightest minds at Ominent?
Yes, sir. We're still working on that formula. I know it's been months, but the embiggen process is far more complicated and dangerous than we predicted.
Too bad for you, little ones. Prepare the specimens for termination.
This isn't what I signed up for.
You'll have to deal with my beautiful face as I take on multiple enemies as I try and get enough resources to craft ovens. Enlisting a bit of help as well from this ladybug to take on the bombardier beetles, and then obviously I did the right thing and finished her off, although she did give me a little bit of trouble. Oh no! Whoa! No! Ooh! Whoa! He did so much damage! Oh, it's because I've not got decent armour on, I just realised. Just about survived and just about took it out before spending the rest of the night going to explore the Sandbox for the first time. I'd repaired enough of the zipline with my silk rope that I managed to make, and I took on the first antlion. These guys would play an epic important part in my one life challenge ending prematurely, but that day wasn't today. This poor antlion trying to live his dream as a parkour champion, maybe just not meant to be. Yes! Now you meant to wait till like 3 PM for the sunlight to hit the right spot, but after years of playing grounded, I knew exactly where to go to get the next key that would open up this chest, giving us the recipe to a really good weapon, the salt mace. Got ourselves some spicy cha-chas for the first time as well, and I went to investigate some of the antlion holes, but first we had to get rid of this big guy. More of these tanky little gits inside. No longer can you hit them when they're in the ground, you have to actually wait until they pop out. But by now I had an upgraded black ant shield, so I was definitely doing a lot better in protecting myself. Picked up a whole bunch of salt as well, and this pretty much meant I had nearly all the candies apart from sour to go ahead and start upgrading a lot of my weapons. Yes, oh it's daytime, I left it too late.
I'm sizzling.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, it was time to get out of the Sandbox on day 17 as quickly as I could before it got any hotter. Bonsai! My little collection of trophies was growing, giving me more buffs and damage against them. I'd killed enough antlions now that I could go ahead and craft all of the antlion armour, which the main use was getting all that sweet charcoal pieces from the fallen over grill. It's always good to also eat or make sure you've got fresh defence maxed out, so I'd eaten 10 of them already, and we picked up another Omnant badge in another skeleton. I tend to not use the Omnant badges, they've got negatives as well as plus points with the bonuses, hence why you don't really see me talking about them too much. Some are really good, but particularly for maybe beginner players or early game players or certain specific classes, but I felt like I was alright with usually just my tuft or the rotten berry charm. Got the Mega Milk Molar inside the actual grill itself before I burned to a crisp. Then I cleared up some more of the pieces before getting another golden molar hidden behind the wolf spider's lair. For all them bombardier beetles I killed earlier, I had enough to at least craft one oven, but I definitely need to kill a lot more to get the boiling glands. It was then I realised I hadn't unlocked the candy pieces, instead just mushroom bricks, so I still had a lot more work to do to get the full candy smelting. Day 18 began with me hunting down mosquitoes as I wanted their blood bags to make blood bombs. Definitely need to improve my aim a little here, wasn't exactly setting the world alight with my crossbow skills. A bunch of weed stems on the way home as well, and we got to work building my farm. I was intent on building my fortress made out of mushroom bricks, hence why I hadn't moved or changed my base much. So finished off the day setting that in motion, and then the next day it was about just making sure my crops are growing the right stuff. In the afternoon we headed over to the Black Ant Hill once more, this time intent on actually completing it. I'd made enough of the blood bombs to see me through maybe, and now it was through the maze of corridors and special access areas to try and get through to the mini boss. Also remembering how tough black ants can be sometimes if you don't necessarily have the right gear on, but my Stinger Spear was doing pretty good. It's getting stuck on this ground. What a shame. What is the deal with my head missing? This biometric. Hey! Hey! That's not fair. Access 8 open. I took care of some tased teas as we explored and eventually made our way through to the actual doorway. Black Ant Hill can be quite challenging for newer players, but I was an old pro at completing this one. Last of the tased teas taken care of, and then it was activating door B. We'd made really solid progress and I hadn't really used up any of my heals, so this was all going to be good for taking on the boss, which we were close to. Pretty handy mutations I have in this area for sure, the Ant Annihilator doing extra damage against ants, quick Milk Molar, and then it was time to go into the Assistant Manager Arena, using the bomb to blow up the glass, and then yes, activating the button and taking on probably one of the toughest fights you've got. In fact, I'd rate the Assistant Manager as tougher than some of the other bosses that you'll face later. You really do need kind of the biggest or most upgraded gear you can get at this stage, level 4 or 5 at least, with a lot of either ladybug armour or maybe even black ant armour. Ah! Ow! Oh, sugar! No, stop pissing about with that and put something on. There we go. Not sure perfect parry was really helping here. Quickly recovered and made sure I was skipping over the laser beams. The frickin' laser beams. Oh my god, this is much tougher doing it in first person, ain't gonna lie. Even with the arc R's spawning and a bunch of the lasers hitting me, it still wasn't that bad. It was always the static charge poles that really did a lot of damage. Oh! Ow! It burns! It burns! Oh my god! Quick! I whittled him away enough now though that the end was in sight. Just a few more hits. Just needed to keep my composure and block more of the static charge shots. Come on! Come on! Come on! Yes! Come on! Get in! Calm down dear, it was only a boss fight. I unlocked shocking dismissal, which gave extra shot charge when you blocked. But more importantly, we had the assistant manager keycard now, and the fourth and final story chip needed to progress. Took a little gander at stuff that we'd have to complete as well. Again, part of the 100% challenge is completing every single one of the 8 mixers. We grabbed the black ant chip and some more story, and we legged it out there pretty quick. Quick return to Burgle, and now finally we had unlocked the advanced smelting, which meant I could craft new armor upgrades as well as weapon ones.
Alright, here they are. All tucked in with the outfits and backpacks they were snatched in. As requested, they're strapped and synced with scabbies for whatever they might run into down there. You do realize the director will have our heads if he finds out we're removing company property?
Can you sleep at night with what this company's doing? We need to do something.
Is Dr. Tully even alive? The field team reported him missing months ago. You are prolonging the inevitable.
Wendell, wherever he is the only hope for these kids. I'll make the delivery to his yard discreetly. No one is even going to know.
I hope you know what you're doing.
It was time to move my base over from the baseball to my new location. My favourite and best location in Grounded, the flower bed in between a lower and upper yard. Of course these bombardier beetles didn't really want me moving in, but we sorted out our differences with the help of an axe, and I slowly started to move all my stuff over. I built a zip line as well to help with that, and things were a lot quicker as I completed the rest of the day doing this. It did actually take a long time to get everything moved over it, so that's what I spent most of day 22 before day 23 starting to get more of the upgrades needed to craft even more ovens. Started day 24 with a cookout with them ovens now up and running, making lots of the candy globs and mighty globs that I would need before going for a dive and open up the secret doorway with the assistant manager's keycard. It's located just underneath the oak tree, hidden away inside this small laboratory. Inside you find a little piece of Wendell's kids bracelet, a bunch of upgrade rocks, but more importantly the stump laboratory. This is obviously where I'd need the recipe to fight the mantis later on, another requirement of 100%. That same keycard could be used for the pagoda laboratory as well to again get a whole ton of upgrade rocks and stuff. For some reason I decided to head over to the Sandbox just to go and get some milk molars that I'd missed out on, particularly the one inside the plant pot. Make sure you bring plenty of mushroom bricks to get this nice and easy. I've been getting a bit tired of going up to the picnic table and then back to the Sandbox. Decided to maybe build a direct route back to base. Oh, he's fighting them! Oh, I'm getting involved, I'm getting involved. Totally an opportunist, taking advantage and taking on the wolf spider that was tangling with some of the ant lions. Then I really remembered what I was here for, to open up the laboratory that you can't access unless you've got the assistant manager's keycards to pick up another burgle chip. It took nearly all morning to get enough of the stems from the small flooded zone to finally get over and get my zipline up and running all the way back to base. Day 26 was spent mostly building a zipline tower, not the best one, realising bricks are not the right thing to be using, it should be grass planks. And on day 27 I went over to that stump laboratory that we'd now opened access to. Again, not the best idea as I was still pretty undergeared with not the right kind of stuff, but I felt if I was quick enough I could get in here and get the mantis recipe and a whole ton of stuff more. I guess I wasn't quick enough though, as I got tagged by a few ticks and then of course the wolf spider. Woo! Hey! Oh! 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 Sugar! No! No! This was a mistake! This was a mistake. I should never have come here. Laboratory was in sight. I just had to get up there quick enough. Another one that you really need to bring a tough with, otherwise you're going to have to be jumping on these little ledges. And I quickly made my way down to what is in the game's probably most toughest parkour area. Now, I hadn't even taken care of the Broodmother yet, but I was going for the Mantis research note. I just wanted to get everything in place first before also maxing out more armour. Made my way through the annoying parkour eventually, that all important milk molar. Just about made it through, but again I had forgotten to pick up Sarah's second part of her charm, which was pretty useful for later boss fights. With the Burgle chip also here, it meant I now could go ahead and craft upgrades levels 5 to 7 and really improve a lot of my gear. I could also now utilise a lot of the tier 3 Supreme stones to go ahead and upgrade too. Finished off the night gathering huge amounts of the clay needed for smoothies and maybe a bit of parkour later by finishing off at the Barbie doll rip-off, the Christie doll car for another milk molar and some sour pieces for the first time. Day 28 I messed around with some more zip lines, handed the chips into Burgle. We had plenty of raw science left over as I've been storing it up to go ahead and buy the upgrades for the Mighty Jewel, Supreme Plating, Supreme Whetstone and more advanced smithing. That's pretty much what I did with the rest of day 28, just crafting and making a whole bunch of the upgrades and maybe adding a little bit more for the base. Not to mention getting my crook on for the first time and making some meals. I went and checked out the dried trenches on day 29, taking care of plenty of the ladybird larvae. Both, maybe actually they're the first and most annoying creatures before being yeeted by this guy. Whoa! Whoa! I never knew that was a thing! First encounter with a Black Ox beetle, I tried my hammer and it was doing okay, but being tier 2 it wasn't exactly the best. And for some reason I thought my dagger might even be better. Nope. Pinchwhacker is the one I should have been using all along. These guys are going to be crucial if I wanted enough upgrade parts later to go ahead and get max upgrades. Then a visit to the termites in the small termite hill. In big groups these guys are no joke. My toxic spear and obviously the trinket was pretty much doing the trick. There were some big fat upgrade blocks in here as well. At some point there was just simply way too many of the termites, so I had to make a slight tactical retreat and take them on one by one of them. Got last of the upgrade rocks for now, although I would still need a tier 3 hammer to get the rest later, and the high density scab. Another Black Ox beetle attacked me on the route to trying to find some of the termite soldiers, as I needed their parts to go ahead and make the tier 3 axe. So just about managed to lure them away from the main hub and then got the resources needed. Probably one of my favourite weapons is the termite axe. It's so versatile and pretty strong, you can utilise it in so many ways, especially if you upgrade it down the fresh path. Day number 30 I showed everyone how not to go through the Haze area. I was looking for crow pieces and stupidly I didn't scan them, so I decided to go through the Haze with the toxicology badge equipped, except I didn't actually have it on. Oh no, that is too much. That is way too much. That is way too much. Wait, oh no! Oh, sugar. Oh. No! Oh my god! What have I done? What have I done? Let me out of here. I've got to get out of here quick. Stupid idea. Quick. Oh my god, look at that. That was so stupid. My one life challenge was nearly done. I went home for a breather after that, and day 31 spent and continued my search looking for more crow feathers. I was pretty much out of luck. There wasn't any around the yard at all, and when I did finally use the scanner, it was showing that there would be some maybe in the Fallen Barbecue Zone or the Sandbox. That's some nonsense! I was highly unimpressed with the scanner telling me absolute nonsense. I topped up on more candies while I was in the Sandbox before eventually finding some in some of the chests, the crow feathers I needed. Started out day 32 getting more mushroom bricks for another trip over to the dry trenches to get more candy. The dust mites were definitely annoying though, so I had to take care of them first. I also managed to gather more of the salt needed, as well as pupa hide for the first time. We will need a ton of this to make into pupa leather for upgrades, weapons and armour. Another Black Ox beetle defeated. And another clearing out of an exposed pipe for that sweet raw science and milk molar. Day 33 was a stay at home and manufacturing day, while I also got the tier 3 hammer. And now I had all the correct tools that I could get more advanced gear like the splinters and rust before being ambushed by one of the stinkies. There we go. Day 35 I spent most of it gathering weed stems and grass planks to start thinking about building my next big base. Day 36 I went and mopped up more of the pond stuff now I had the tier 3 hammer, as well as obviously getting more of the muscle sprouts. We went back to the weird ant cave and got loads of the upgrade rocks. I also found time to make my favourite weapon, the rusty spear, which I used to defend myself on day 37 against a lava raid. Days 38 to 42, it was time to get my build on and make another mushroom castle. I know, I always build here, some of my regular grounded viewers will say, but it really is the best spot. You're halfway between the lower yards, you can make forays into the upper, and it's pretty safe. You can't really get attacked by any creatures. Even raids are really hard for them to really engage. I've been obviously cooking up a whole ton of mushrooms, so I had enough to build a moderate size castle. I just needed plenty of grass planks and obviously acorn pieces to finish off some of the stuff. Then just simply had to move everything in, and we were pretty much done. I had the idea of having a central vault going through the centre, which meant that I could craft pretty much in one spot, pull in all the resources. I admired my work on day 43, but I still had a lot to do, so I kept gathering more materials ready for the next part of the build later on. Day 44 I returned to the hedge as the brand new update that added cozy features to the game was now live. It meant I had to go and get a super duper disc, which would allow me to go ahead and duplicate any item for an exchange of raw science. There were 3 of these discs and the first one was in the hedge. This would be able to duplicate low level items for a small cost of raw science, although I was trying to save up my raw science anyway. Also picked up the figurines, collect enough of these, and it would give you the ability to go ahead and steal bug parts when attacking them. En route home I went and took care of some fireflies, as I still hadn't crafted the heavy miner's helmet, which would give me some light in the dark. And I went and checked what actual items I could make with the super duper disc. Day 45 I wanted to get more trophies made, and I definitely knew I needed a lot more bee fuzz, as it was a big requirement of so many of the stuff creatures too. I took some pot shots and managed to lure a few from the picnic table. Isn't he so cute? Days 46 to 48 I pretty much spent time getting the rest of my castle built and upgraded, including these nice little mushroom stairs that came as part of the latest update, before returning to more adventures in going to the Haze laboratory, breaking through the first original way that you're meant to go and picking up the second figurine as well as the second super disc. Day 49 I crafted the Salt Morning Star just before heading off to the pond to pick up the third and final super disc, as well as another figurine, which was well hidden. It's probably the hardest one to find in between the 2 broken down corridors of the lab. And of course stocked up on some more muscle sprouts. I'd now be able to pretty much duplicate any item, any charm, so that if I really wanted to, I'd never worry about one getting lost. Day 50 was here, halfway through, and it was time to go to the woodpile to take on a bunch of termites. Probably the most annoying because there's just so many in the woodpile before you get to the objective, which of course would be the Termite King. The salty mace was too slow, so I relied on my spear as I gathered all the milk molars and more upgrades, and finally got my way through to the king himself. And yes, I'm going to cheese it. There we go. With him tagged, I legged it back and managed to get through to the spiky ones that I not managed to chop through, and there we had him in my sights to go ahead and rail on him with some range before getting up close and finishing him off. Yes! Sucker! Grab these body particles and the rest of the gear, including the burgle chip for the wizard's outfit and more, and return to Burgle. Then spent the rest of the day 51 tidying up my base. I hadn't killed any wolf spiders, not properly anyway, and I knew it was time to try and get the Mithridism mutation before heading up and further exploring. Wolves are kind of still scary to me, I can't help it. Oh, they're so hard in first person, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of fighting in first person. It was still mentally in my mind that they were still tough to beat from the early days of Grounded. I was starting to realise I could actually do this pretty well. I wasn't just here for the fun of it though, we desperately needed to get more of the cement now going. I had plenty of ovens, but I was conscious about getting things ready for the mixers later and definitely wanted to try and get that cement up and running quickly. And of course, now I had much better gear, it was finally time to get the sword in the stone, aka the Katana. One of my favourites, even if it has been nerfed to pretty much almost uselessness now. Trick with this is to hide on the sides so that you stay cool, then rush in and take care of all the annoying larvae.
You kind of want their attention, to be honest. As long as they're hitting you, they're not hitting the thing.
Obviously you still needed all of your antlion gear and maybe some cool mints that keep them at bay, and certainly something fresh. The spear is always the best option. But I was just about keeping them on down low. I'd only taken a few hits and we did it.
Yeah, sucker!
And we unlocked Guard Dog mutation, which would come in clutch much later, but surprisingly I forgot about it for the first few mixers, as you'll see. I went back home, crafted the Katana up. Like I said, it's still one of the most badass looking weapons and absolutely more than capable of decimating every wolf spider on the map. And that's exactly what I did on day 53, hunting every single one to get a max mutation of Mithridism. Of course, the main reason for getting it is still to really take on the Broodmother, as it's still definitely one of the best weapons, with it being so weak against spicy and of course blades. And that's what we did on day 54. The latest update had given her a bit of a revamp, and I felt she was a lot tougher than she used to be, so it wasn't going to be a walk in the park.
Oh, ow! Okay, she's got minions. She's got, oh my, 20 minions. 20 minions.
Don't look, poor spiderlings, I'm about to murder your mother. And don't forget, I'm still on my 1 life challenge at this point.
Oh! Nearly died, nearly died.
I honestly don't remember having so many of the actual mobs spawning in protection, but I quickly took care of them, and then it was one final showdown.
Come on. Ah! Yes!
Mom's genes activated, taking the Broodmother out. This meant I could now go ahead and craft what we needed to summon the Mantis boss fight.
There we go. Boom, baby, boom.
But there was one big problem. I'd forgotten to go ahead and peep the Broodmother. So yes, luckily I had another summons on me, and we quickly used it and took it out once more. But let's just say my confidence was maybe just a bit too high. I've used a lot of my heals in the first fight, and...
Oh, oh, this has gone wrong. This has gone so wrong. Heal. Please, heal. Give me... Oh! Oh!
For sure, I wasn't about to try it one more time. I'd done the job and I was out there. It wasn't long before the spiders wanted retribution. As I finished scanning the rest of the Broodmother stuff, I had a raid incoming from the Orb Weavers. But with my Katana, I made quick work of them. It was a pretty productive day after that. I went and got a bunch of salt from obviously the Sandbox. Mopped up a couple more upgrade rocks that I'd missed. And then as I made my way over to try and see if I could kill a few termites in the termite den, I was seemingly in control against a couple of ladybird larvae. Something went wrong and I started losing a lot of health very quickly. This is what happens when you don't have any antlion armour on, and they nearly got me. Took care of the Black Ox beetle guarding the termite den, and I went and finally cleared out the rest of the upgrade rocks and the raw sites that I'd missed last time. I spent pretty much the whole of day 56 getting upgrades for my gear, including my favourites, the aphid boots. Day 57 I took on some fire ants for the first time, as we made our way slowly up to the table to turn on Wendell's scab. A little parkour later and we'd done it. And of course we were going to stop off and get toenails for the first time, see if we can make maybe the toenail scimitar, which was something I'd never really messed around with too much. And of course a remnant from events gone by, the candy corn.
Put the battery in. Activate the scab.
We're really getting close to the end of the major story content that you need to complete Grounded. On the way back down, I went and scouted out some of the dust mites, making sure we got plenty of obviously the lint as well. Day 58 started out with me going to get the milk molar inside the Trail Cave and then taking a diversion via the Black Ant Hill to mop up some of the stuff that I'd missed previously. If only I'd gone home. This was a live stream that I was doing and I was literally just finished and saying goodbye, but I'd gone and decided to do this last few bits and bobs. I went and got the milk molar that's obviously inside the Black Ant Cave as well. And I was making my way through the sandbox with the intention to literally get home and finish the stream. But of course, Grounded had other ideas for me.
Put loads in your base. Oh yeah, it's the worst. It is the worst. Well, I've got 3 things here. Oh, you know what? I don't need to be involved in this. Laters. Oh my god! No! No! Fudge! I was hungry. I was about to end the stream. I was like, oh, I'm done. Yeah, let's just get home.
It was all over. The hard life, hardcore, one life, whatever you want to call it, challenge was finished. I'd already released a whole bunch of these as single Let's Plays, which of course you can go and watch every single one of them still up in the playlist. And it felt like I'd come too far to just chuck it all away now. So I decided to make it into the 100% challenge. Could I complete the rest of the game in 100 days, getting absolutely everything? It was going to be tight, but I think I could do it. It's day 59, I went and took on a bunch more of the ladybirds and got myself the ladybird shield. And now I'd really have to be careful about peeping everything so I could get every single creature. And we took out the green shield bug as well. Got to sell some of the pop caps, which are going to be really useful for the bomb arrows later. I really needed a bunch of candies at this point, so I carried on my adventures that day. Got a whole bunch of the mint ones. And I went and cleared out the top of the tarpaulin from the wood pile, as I knew there was a bunch of stuff I hadn't actually gone up there to get yet. A few nice easy kills with the wolf spiders.
This is throwing me a little bit, getting the mosquito involved as well.
Get out of here with your third party nonsense, mosquito. And I finally got lucky and got myself the mint candy accessory.
Whoop whoop!
After crafting the charcoal torch on day 60, we went and got the Coup de Grace mutation part 1 and of course a whole bunch of upgrade rocks. With all their mints, I now had more upgrades that I could craft and I went about getting a poison build. I was lacking some key bits, but obviously the Mask of the Mother Demon was the major one. And as the sun set on day 61, headed over to the Broken Stump and then got ourselves a Thor's Trinket. Along the way taking out some mites for the first time and of course peeping them. Honestly, still one of my favourite accessories in the game. It's just such a good all-rounder to have that general health refill and everything else that gives you. And then we finished off the rest of the night gathering more of the candies and of course the milk mirrors as you saw, before fighting off against a wolf spider that ambushed me on the way home. Day 62, it was time to head to the undershed. What dangers lurked? What bosses would we come up against? What horrors would we find?
Well, you're going to find out in the next minute or so.
Grab the recipe for the fridge freezer, which has newly been added here in the last few updates. And then we step foot into the undershed itself, hoping to avoid a lot of the black ox beetles and taking the far right route to try and get to obviously the Mant boss fight. A little bit of parkour later, jumping on the lucky coin and plenty of jewel bugs here to hopefully get more upgrades. Once I remembered how to actually use a spear. They had the last laugh though, as one managed to knock me out of the pipe, which was not in the game plan, and I had to deal with a bunch of mosquitoes and of course then go through the Black Widow layer. I managed to lure out a couple of the Black Widowlings along to make things a bit easier before taking on their mama. And there she was. Could I defeat her with kind of maybe not the best gear at the moment? Maybe. The toughest creature in Grounded. Yes, I think this is honestly harder than some of the bosses that you'll fight. Certainly at this level and stage of the game at least anyway. Your best bet is usually generic weapons as she's least resistant against them. But I would also say that fast moving ones are good too. Surprisingly had a fairly good fight against her. I was holding my own and only got poisoned by her venom a couple of times. My skills as a Grounded player were surely growing, or maybe I was just getting really lucky. I ended up going with the pinch whacker because I mistakenly thought it had generic damage, forgetting it's actually a hammer, but regardless it was doing the trick.
Feel the electrical force in me! Yes!
Whoop whoop! I of course grabbed the upgrade rocks as well as the milk molar that was here and made my way through the rest of the lair, taking out more of the spiderlings, before coming up to the point where you see all the roly-polies and a bunch more rocks. I was trying to be extra careful that I would pick up everything I needed for 100%. I then had a moment of madness and threw my spear, and that was the last I ever saw of it. A few days later I left it too late and it despawned. Great place for lint, so we topped up on that before finally heading into the laboratory itself and seeing what had occurred to Wendell. This poor guy has lost a bit of weight, so it seems. Guarded by fire ants and of course infected, I'd spent so long exploring the undershed, it was now day 63. Just about made my way through before eventually turning the power on and then returning to the open doorway to take on the fearsome Mant. There was just one little problem. There you go, stabbing him fresh, no! Yep, my spear that I'd yeeted and didn't bother going to get back was the perfect weapon for this encounter. But never mind, I'd taken on the Mant a bunch of times before. He's actually one of the easier boss fights, as long as you know how to keep your distance when he goes exploding from the pimples in his back. Oh, here we go. Fire ant, fire ant, fire ant. Oh, and bombs, bombs. With my Termite axe upgraded down the fresh path, I wasn't really having too much of a problem, and I'd still had plenty of heals. Got a nice shot of his tighty whities from behind, and in no time at all, I managed to finish him off. Yes! Woo! And another mutation, the Mysterious Stranger. Okay, we got out there. We did it. We did all right there. That was not bad. Not bad at all. Went and rescued Wendell. I kind of wish I didn't, as he's so useless when it comes to fighting. I ended up dumping him somewhere eventually, but of course it does progress the story. No, I'm the kid that's been trying to find you and hopefully get me rescued. Once I'd finished with him waffling, I went and grabbed, of course, the cooked raw science, or was it cooked science now I guess, and a few meals. And it was now time to finally leave the undershed alone, for a little while at least. Anyway, went and grabbed one of the figurines that's on the side, and we'd done it. We also now got Rascal Rogue level 2, which meant I'd get even more chance of stealing bug pieces when fighting creatures. Spent the rest of the evening cooking up some upgrades, and then I made my way to see if we could finish off some missions. I was really starting to get nervous now that it transformed into a 100% challenge, that I wouldn't have enough raw science to buy all the shop upgrades. That's what you needed as well, and yeah, I definitely needed to boost my raw science. So it was a nice and fairly easy one, taking care of the gnats. And while I was here, I busted through the rock underneath the oak tree and got ourselves one of the gold milk molars here too. On the way home, I went and grabbed some of the firefly juice, and I had another death. So soon after the first one, I was feeling pretty bummed out that I got killed by just a ravaging raid of the orc creatures. Just goes to show, never take any bugs in Grounded for granted, no matter where you are or how good you think you are. No! Sugar! I did go back and get my revenge on them, at least when I got all my gear back. Day 64, I decided it was time to go and turn off the haze once I made some more upgrades for my armour. This time correctly drinking the right gastro goo to protect me as I went and got the gum and climbed up to the gas canister. You've got no choice. If you try and do a 100% challenge, you have to turn the haze off, as it's the only way that you can peep an infected wolf spider once of course they start spawning. I normally put this off quite a long time, as I still think it's beneficial just to hold off a bit longer so you don't have more infected creatures roaming around as well. But it would mean that I could explore the rest of the haze now, picking up more upgrade rocks and more milk molars. And that's what I did for the rest of the day, clearing out a bunch of the gullies and the trenches, taking on as many infected as I could and obviously getting as many upgrades. Also had a small little mission, not exactly giving me the most raw science, but hey, 100's 100. Again, I was also conscious that I'd have to find all 54 of the scabs, and I definitely hadn't been paying attention to some of the early areas, so I knew I'd have to revisit some eventually. After that, I made my way home and took care more of the fireflies, although they might have just about took care of me. I was actually super lucky this stink bug came along at the right time, as they were about to ruin me. The ladybug got involved as well, and I quickly took care of that before finishing off the job against all the rest of the fireflies. I definitely now had enough materials once I got some berry leather to make the mining helmet. I spent all day on 65 prepping mushroom bricks so that I could go around picking up some of the more hard to get milk molars in the sandbox. before stupidly deciding that I could maybe try the sand mixer without the actual right proper gear. The sand lines aren't actually that bad, and in the end it wasn't them that were causing me trouble, it was of course the sunlight about to stream in and cook me. It was going to be super tight whether or not I was successful here. They really were getting closer and closer to the mixer, and I was worried it was going to be damaged. I thought I'd managed to actually win.
There's no way they destroyed it or damaged it. No! Oh no, it didn't last.
Rip. Fail for now, would have to get them next time. After messing around with more zip lines to make my life easier getting to and through from the haze, I then went and got my favourite scab, which of course is Hot Dog Horror inside the bisque can near the pond. Make sure you tell me your favourite scab in the comment section down below. Day 67, it was a return to the undershed, try and get more of the green shells that I needed, the dual ones, and hopefully maybe find my spear. But of course it wasn't there. I'd left it way too long to go back. There's just so many resources that you'll end up gathering if you do a full sweep of the undershed, so always go in here pretty light. And of course there was good amounts of raw science to be had too. A little parkour up the pipes to hopefully get the milk molar and a whole bunch more lint. And then a pretty tricky jump, but as long as you do what I do, you should be able to make it to get yourself some more raw science inside the broken pipe, and of course jump across to get even more goodies. I've pretty much done it in sections, vowing to clear up the far end and then maybe returning later to do the rest of the undershed. Day 68, I finally made the mint mallet and I went to town on defending against another wave of all weavers. Only made slightly complicated by another stink bug coming in and getting himself involved. The little buggers had managed to get closer to my base than any of the other raids though, so I quickly had to deal with this guy, and you never know when a good weed stem's going to come in handy. As the evening drew to a close, I decided it was also now time to get myself a pet. I hadn't really bothered as much because of the extra inventory space that we now had, but things were getting a bit tight and I thought it could be a good idea to get one. My ideal pet would be the gnat. They seem to be a bit more troublesome and I got attacked by a bunch of mosquitoes as I was trying to get one. I guess these guys really just didn't like my cooking, because even when I went over to the light fitting, they still weren't interested. I did make a return the next day, but more to get the scab that was located on top. And then I tried once more to see if I could get one of the pets I wanted. At this point I just wanted any pet, let alone maybe having the gnat. The weevils weren't biting, nor the aphids over out on Rash's Island. I was just about to give up when I finally got myself a little weevil. Who's a good little snouty boy. On the way home I decided to stop off and also get some more of the scabs that I knew I'd needed, especially this one on top of one of the tripods, and I had another one that was going to be even more challenging to get. But this one you didn't need any outside building materials, just make sure your parkour was on point as I climbed up the stem. This is definitely one of them scabs that I think a lot of players might miss, as it doesn't always ping unless you're jumping right underneath it. Not exactly the most colourful one. I got home, gave my pet a little cuddle. Turns out he's a happy little boy, if maybe a little bit chaotic and evil. And we named him Spicy, after one of my favourite rat bags. Day 70 was absolutely action packed. I took a look at the ingredients that I would need to start up the mixer to hopefully make me big again, and we went and see if we could try and get hold of the power droplet. Not needed for 100%, but I just felt I might give it a whirl, but my parkour skills let me down. Also had my first proper encounter with wasps. These guys are no joke if you're not fully prepared. Literally had to make a hasty retreat because the drone was coming as well. This meant they were going to be super OP. I just didn't have the right armour or gear on for this. I should have maybe spent more time making sure my mutations were right, and Mithridism might have kicked in and helped a little bit here, but as it stood I didn't get enough of a chance and I was dead for the third time. I'd set my spawn point as the undershed previously when fighting against the mant, and that's where I ended up spawning, so I took the opportunity to run through and grab some more milk molars, as we were going to obviously need every single one, and it wasn't long before I managed to get my stuff back. I grabbed some pinecone for the first time, unlocking all new building materials, and I topped up on some more sweets as I hunted for some more of the milk molars in and around the upper yard. After a mini tussle with a ladybird, I went and took on some of the tiger mosquitoes for the first time too, but they were super easy with my fresh spear that I just recently crafted once more. Always feel like there should be more added to this lawnmower area and ladder, as it is just one big massive parkour challenge, and I quickly dived down. Luckily the tuft was equipped. Raw science got. I carried up on the vines and managed to go and get myself the key that would open up the special chest inside the tyre and finally give me explosive arrows. Just in case you didn't know, obviously bring your tier 2 shovel and go ahead and dig, and it should be underneath the gum. On the way down, grab the last of the milk molars hidden amongst the ladder, and I unlocked this sour mutation by eating some of the sour sweets that I managed to pick up as well, and another scab.
Whoa, my god!
That guy definitely had some Nike Jordans on, and I absolutely had the wrong weapon for taking these guys out. The dawn of day 71, I returned over to the tyre. Now that I had the key, I could get inside and get all the milk molars and the recipe for the explosive arrows. It's so much easier making a bunch of these now rather than having to go back through the anthill to get ant eggs. Also crafted my fridge for the first time, meaning I can now save and stock any of the meals that I came across or made. And we're missing some gum and some koi scales to finish off the embiggening cocktail. Decided to make sure everything was prepped, so I broke through the glass and made sure that the cocktail holder was in place. I just needed obviously to pick up the last ingredients.
Everyone, shout out as well. There's a special secret that I don't think many people realise. Next to this plug socket, inside there, it's like a glitch. It messes up your game, but it basically makes you invincible. All you got to do is just jump into that hole there. On the way home, I glanced one of the most feared creatures for me, the infected wolf spider, and really decided, nope, not today. Grabbed a bunch of the koi scales needed from the pond, and got some more raw science and finished off a few more locations in the pond. We were really starting to build some up, but I still had work to do. Day 72, I spent upgrading my favourite armour set, the fire ant armour, as well as then going off and finishing off a few bits more near the dusty trenches and the wood pile. I wanted to get some more mint pieces, and I went and took out another Black Ops beetle, trying to store as many of these horns up, either for Black Ops burgers eventually, or maybe upgrades. A little parkour up the spokes of the BMX, and we got ourselves 500 fat juicy raw science. I went and deposited all the ingredients that are now needed for the mixer, and we brewed the cocktail. Yes! Great success!
Don't know about anyone else, but anything with toenail pieces in, I'm not totally down for drinking. As if it would be that easy to go big again. Yep, I had to do the final defense, of course, and that's something that we planned for a bit later. Took out some of the fire ants, and I had a cool funny moment with triple mants by my side, if only for a few seconds. And then I was filled in by Wendell on what more I needed to do. Maybe go and visit the mysterious person or creature living inside the Orc Castle, as well as check out the Java-matic storage facility. So that's what I went and did, and got all the good resources from that. Lots and lots of smoothies, and of course lots of resources, as well as a ton of arrows, which would come in handy later, as I hadn't really been crafting too many, and of course the next figurine. Day 74, I started building out my corridor to the upper yard. I wanted it to be expansive enough to display all my armour sets. My original goal was to have all of the armour sets done by day 100, but as you'll soon see, that becomes a pipe dream. Day 75, I headed off to go and get more milk molars, absolutely wanting to get the most out of the buffs that I could get by getting more of the milk molars especially, rather than the golden ones. I forgot I needed the bomb arrows for this section though, so I headed over to the next cave, which had the jack ball inside that I'd have to move and use to get across to more upgrades and more milk molars. Really like this elements of Grounded. I hope they add more in the future updates where we can utilise things and environmental objects. I got ambushed by a ladybird on the way out, but just about managed to take care of her before moving on. Then it was over to everyone's favourite milk molar jackpot, the blue lid, which would give us access to the dental tub that had so many of them inside. And of course I picked up one of the next onlet cards as well. Beautiful milk molars, give it to me. Spotted another infected wolf spider that I might have to deal with later, and I got myself a whole ton of sour sweets just outside the fire anthill. And the last order of the day was to pick up a ton of clay needed for all of them armour stands and more. With huge nodes by the oak stump lab. Got home and started to fill them up, and then for the next 2 days I carried on gathering enough resources and building up the rest of my corridor and entranceway. I was probably going to need some more crow feathers, so that would be something we'd get later on. Also put up a ton of lights and change it to a nice bright white light to show off the armour more, before heading out on day 78 to see if I could get more than crow feathers by clearing out more of the haze and trenches that I'd missed, including a tussle with another wolf spider by the tribute to Hammy the hamster, and of course picking his dead bones for another scab. Night was fading, but I wanted to carry on going through as I was really worried about the amount of days left, so I just went ham on clearing out all the rest of the haze. There are so many infected larvae in here, but I made swift work of them as I gathered up every upgrade stone, every resource like the crow feathers, and of course plenty of milk molars too.
Oh, and of course, yeah, this is the one that's going to be taking for absolute ever to do and finish. You might have guessed what I might be leaving for the very end conclusion to this 100 days. Day 79 I started off by upgrading more of my armor sets with all of that supreme and sturdy rocks that we got, and I had to deal with an infected raid. Not too bad when you've got your trusty spear at your side, and then it was time to start doing the mixers, heading up to the easiest one first, the ants in the grasslands. Also managed to unlock stage 3 of Ant Annihilator, which was pretty handy. I then hit on this idea of trying to defend all of the mixers in the lower grasslands at least without using any defences. Could I actually achieve it? Certainly this first one was easy with my Cortana taking care of all the ant soldiers. I almost felt sorry for them, honestly. I was just ripping them apart, as well as of course the mites. And it didn't take long at all before I completed the mixer. Yes! Okay, that's a lot easier to remember it.
The raw science rewards were going to come in handy for sure in picking up all of the sign sets, which I'd need to buy to get 100%. I was heading over to the sandbox when I got ambushed by this guy on the way through the tunnel, and he managed to get a few licks in this time. Crazy how scared I used to be of wolf spiders, but maybe not as much anymore. Maybe I was actually getting good at perfect blocking. Yeah, he did get me a couple times there. So as the morning broke, it was time for the rematch of the Sandbox mixer. I was doing pretty well, but I realised that I still didn't have my antline armour on, and guess what? That daylight was about to hit once more.
They're in the walls, man. They're in the walls.
I really didn't want to waste any more time having to come back here another day.
There, I see him. I see him. Yeah, come on then, lads.
You can't hit these guys when they're under the ground anymore like you used to, so you really do have to play a bit more patient and wait for them to emerge and then block them perfectly. I should have more of a vendetta against Antline since they ended my one life challenge, but I kind of respect them. They're chunky, they're slow, but they do hit like an absolute tank.
Ooh. Yes!
I'd just about done it without frying, and now it was time to head straight over and do the next one in the haze. This one's pretty easy as long as you know to focus on the actual infected mites, as they're the ones that can do the most damage, as you often don't realise they're shooting at the actual mixer. Of course the big explosions are going to roll in, and of course the ladybug, but they kind of get dragged towards you a lot, so as long as you stay in front you should be good. Of course you could build a Trump-esque wall across the way, but honestly it's just not worth it. As long as you've got something really good in terms of fresh on your weapons, and yeah, you take care of these guys. I held firm though, and we just about managed to win out with this last ladybug absolutely going ham, smashing her bombs everywhere, and I just about survived. For sure, if it had been the one life challenge, I would have built a massive wall just to be extra safe.
Yes! I can't believe I've done that because I did panic and I didn't have the smoothie that I was trying to take.
You saw I unlocked another level of guard dog. I'd actually forgotten to keep putting this on. I'd gone home for a breather after that, and so on day 81 I went over to the hedge to begin the next one. Not gonna lie, I wasn't sure if this could be done without any defences, as the larvae were pretty ferocious towards the end, and they often spawned right at the back of the mixer, so it could be hard to defend against all angles. I'd gone trigger happy with my explosive arrows, and of course the Cortana was still coming in pretty well. In fact, I'm starting to regret misaligning it earlier. The Cortana's still a great weapon, just needs a bit more of a boost for late game I guess. My mixer had taken quite a bit of damage, and I was just about to think, nope, it's not going to happen, but the last wave of orb waivers hit, and that was pretty much it. We did it again. Whoop whoop. Now there was only one more left in the lower yard. I went home again and prepped for the next one, and that's what we did on day 82, although unsuccessfully at first. The Black Ant soldiers are just too tanky and I kind of had the wrong weapons. So it wasn't long before the mixer succumbed and got absolutely wrecked by the mosquitoes as well. Definitely would need to do some base defenses. I'm sure if there is some way out there, you guys will let me know to do it without, and I'll see if I can test that a bit more for another guide in the future maybe. So it took all day to get the resources to build it back up, and that's what I ended up finishing off day 82 with, hopefully trying to be successful on the final lower yard mixer. Even with my defences, it was pretty close. The mixer had taken a bunch of damage, but we just about did it. Boom, baby, boom. Day 83, I went and cleared out the Ladybird larvae cave and shortcut up to the upper yard, and there was obviously plenty of upgrade rocks once I got rid of the slew of ladybirds that would attack me. Spicy came along for the ride, and surprisingly, he managed to stay alive. But somewhat annoyingly, he kept stealing my axe. After gathering some resources from the undershed on day 84, I decided to go and take on maybe more of the wasps. I mean, I wasn't really planning on this, I just wanted to scope out what I would need to do maybe for this next mixer. And yes, my beautiful face makes a return. I'm not gonna lie, these were pretty tough. I definitely realised that I would need better gear to take on any more wasps. It was a pretty hard fight just getting rid of these three. But in the end, I just about managed to win out, taking on the drone, which perhaps is the most annoying. And then of course a bunch of fire ants joined in for the party. I just about managed to survive against them, and yeah, I realised I would need to build a whole ton of defences around this area with so many other creatures. I now also had enough parts that I could go ahead and make the fire ant shield, one of my favourites. And with that now equipped, on day 85 I went and cleared out all of the fire ant hill, getting all the upgrades and all the milk molars, taking care of this chunky boy on the way too. It had been a while since I'd been down the fire ant hill, and I forgot how confusing it can be with the various different corridors. Not to mention this parkour little jumping puzzle that I could not do a whole bunch of times. But eventually I managed to get my jumping boots on and we did it. Grabbing the last milk molar, and that was it. I was headed out of there as soon as I could. Spent day 86 getting some upgraded materials and finishing off that one that I didn't have the bomb arrows for earlier, and again more milk molars and of course more upgrade rocks. It was getting to the point now where I'd run out of materials that I could really go ahead and get major upgrades for, tiers 8 and 9 with the Supreme, so I knew I'd have to go and get the recipe so I could craft my own. That meant a trip over to Molduk Castle and to take on Director Schmector. Not forgetting the cheesy way that you can get across without having to build, and of course getting all them sweet upgrade rocks underneath the castle. With just a little bit of help from some mushroom walls, that's all you really need to succeed in getting into the actual castle itself. And with the gear that I had, the tiger mosquitoes really weren't much of a problem, just annoying as always. Another brick placement and we were pretty much done. We'd got access to Molduk's castle. Of course, grabbing Molduk's scab, taking on the tiger mosquitoes on top of the roof, but I decided to leave them off for now, as this really just was one of the worst places to fight it, as I always got stuck in the little grooves on top of the playset. Once they were defeated though, I got the milk molar, and then we returned back down via the gold molar in the cage. And then it was into the tear to drop down and face off against Director Schmector, as long as I could gain access at the doorway. Little bit of help from Wendell and Burgle, and we managed to get in, although we was immediately attacked by one of the orc fire ants. Once he was gone though, we got lots of materials from the chest, and I hadn't realised before that this was where you get the mouldy note, or I'd forgotten, so this would now mean we could take on the infected wolf spider eventually, after picking up one of the last statues. There was just one more left to get. And then it was the boss battle with Schmector. This guy is an absolute pain in the butt, and yes, I know I have got the wrong weapon. Everyone loves telling me you don't actually need a sour hammer for this one, but there's just something about it. It's what I've always did. I did it when it first launched. I used a sour hammer to defeat it. Level 9, in fact, one of the first and maybe only weapon I managed to upgrade to level 9 was my hammer. I could have probably gone with a pinch whacker, maybe even the mint mace, or even a fire ant club, or even the Broodmother club if I really wanted to waste them resources. But you know what, you stick with what you know, and this is what I did. using the katana to take on the Orb-Weave Juniors, and then switching quickly and healing up and hiding underneath the great big massive screen. You're pretty much guaranteed not to get hit by the green lasers as long as you hug this wall. You just got to make sure you don't get done in by the static charges. Look at the blurry concentration on my face as I try to stay alive, taking on the ferocious creatures. With patience and a lot of heals, I eventually finally did it.
Yes! Ah! Ah! Whoa! Whoa!
Them lasers just won't ever turn the hell off. It wasn't all good news though.
I don't get anything from... Oh, spicy!
Poor little Spicy, absolutely brown bread. Yo, you'll come again, my friend. I'll make you anew as an aphid next time so you can run away. Now I had the Sour Battle Axe unlocked, that's what I was going to be aiming for, as it's still one of my favourite weapons. But with only 12 days to go, I was seriously low on the raw science needed to buy a whole bunch of the signs, as I'd managed to pick up pretty much every other upgrade. So ahead of a trip to the undershed again, I went and took care of some Dimebell spiders to give me that sweet, sweet raw science. I had thought I got everything on the undershed, but there was still a ton of raw science that I'd missed as well. I was making as many trips as I could to kill the scarabs. So this was it, the last lot of upgrade rocks left in the undershed, as I made my escape, taking on every single orb weaver it seemed in the game in this one little trench. Like, when did they add over 10 of these guys? I just don't remember there being that many. It come a little bit closer than I wanted, even with the most powerful weapon to deal with these guys. It was still a bit close with so many. I had more trouble with the Black Ops Beetle above. You'd think I was playing Rust with the amount of third partying that was going on. This wolf spider getting in on the action and hitting me with his poisonous bite. Place your bets, who's going to win? Wolf Spider or Black Ops Beetle? Yeah, okay, Wolf Spider won. Which meant that I had to finish him off. And with the last bit of raw science got, that was it. No more returning to the undershed. Day 89 was another day filled with completing missions, hopefully getting enough raw science, and then eventually taking on another bunch of stink bugs so that I could craft a sour axe. Of course, realising it wasn't them that I needed, it was the green shield bug pieces I needed for the axe. I was also building up my smoothie supply by growing the muscle sprouts, which I need tons of for the bosses. Things have been going too well clearly, as I got absolutely murdered by a Black Ops Beetle and a ladybird. I quickly rushed back though to get my revenge, kinda sick of them. I unleashed my explosive hell and quickly took care of the ladybird. In fact, I was just about holding my own, apart from that one time against the variety of creatures that live in the upper yard, before coming across what I really needed, the green shield bug itself. With the gas mask equipped, it really wasn't much of a problem, and now I had all the pieces needed for the Sour Battle Axe. I was also trying to mop up the last of the milk molders now, and I knew there was one golden one inside the exposed pipe right at the back of the broken stump. It was kind of crazy that at the end of day 90 I hadn't even pissed off the wasps, so I set off doing that before venturing back home. But once again, these guys were no joke, and it took all of my skills to stay alive while maybe trying to kill them. I'd made the crucial mistake of aggroing them all instead of one by one, so that wasn't exactly helping. But of course it was good training for where I was going to be very soon, taking on the wasps in their own backyard, aka the Brony Box. And I'm calling it now, forget everything else I've said, the wasp drone is absolutely the most annoying and grounded. It took me a ridiculous amount of time to kill it, but eventually it was dead.
Oh my god!
Now only one thing left to do, disturb the hive, and hopefully this would be the trigger we'd need to then get inside the Brony Box.
The wasp hides has been disturbed! Yes, we did it!
I raced home, crafted my axe, as well as got myself some of the wasp armour, and laid my head to rest. Day 91 and we'd done it. It was now time to venture into the death field box and see if we could maybe clear it out. My plan was to do this one trip, obviously get the recipe to take on the wasp queen, and then come home and get a few more upgrades before returning. Could I succeed in that? Let's see. The Brawny Boy box isn't actually that bad as long as you take it nice and slow. I of course grabbed all of the candies and the milk molders along the way, and my salty mace did the job against the ticks as well as the termites. A quick parkour up the Haze head, and we got the milk molar sitting on top. Before doing it right this time and taking on the wasps one by one and drawing them to me. I did the same with the second group on top of the box near the science field station. And then of course over to the nest itself to pick up the recipe for this summons for the wasp queen, and of course the brand new Omnant card. I didn't really have a choice in taking on the Black Widow that also lives here, as I needed to get the milk molar that she was guarding. It didn't really start well. I got pretty much poisoned almost straight away. And despite apparently no weakness or strength against it really, the explosive arrows seem to have done a really good job in starting off a good amount of damage, and then I wailed on her with my sour axe. I did have to have a pit stop breather because I was literally about to die. And then it was getting back in there and finishing off the job. Yes! I grabbed the milk molar and of course the Black Widow trinket inside the egg nest. And of course I didn't forget one of the new scabs that got added on top of the books just above the Black Widow nest too. Day 92 handed in the last of the technology chips finally to Burgle, and spent the rest of the day going around making sure I'd peeped every creature I could and exploring the final places that were missing in part of the data. As you might have seen from earlier, we had a ton left to discover, but I'd made really good progress. It was over for one final sweep of the trash zone on day 93, as this was one of the places I'd missed most of the data, and we picked up plenty of candies and then clambered on top of the rubbish bags to get right to the top for more raw science and a milk molar that I thought I'd already gotten, so it was a good thing I went and double checked. FYI, I do have the scanners, I'd obviously bought them, so this was definitely helping a lot, but there was definitely some issues with that always not pinging. After that I hot-tailed it back over to the woodpile because I hadn't pinged the Termite King. And then I was desperate to get more charcoal pieces as I needed to make more of the cement walls, which I pretty much finished the night cooking over, ready for the mixer defences. Day 94, it was still mopping up more of the molars that I knew I'd missed, like at the stump, and another return to the berry bushes to pick up the milk molar that was also hiding in here. The last Omnant card I needed was now finally working after being glitched and broken for a good few weeks. And to cap the night off, I went for a relaxing little fight with another Black Widow. Again, almost unavoidable because you need to get down here to get the next milk molar, although I realised later I could have just run past her. But by now I was really thinking I needed practice to take on the infected Broodmother eventually, so this would be the closest thing I would get.
You need a proper club for the generic damage, which does a little bit extra. No! 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 Yes! Yes!
Thank God there's no debuffs for not ever sleeping, because I literally had not slept in about a week now, as I was desperate to use up every bit of time to complete and finish off everything, including the terrible parkour that I really hate at the vines, up the wheelbarrow to try and get to the field station, and of course another molar, and I decided to take this guy on just in case I could maybe craft something useful with it.
Oh, it's free falling. I'll take this. I will take this. Oof. There we go. Oh, I got a gold card from that as well. Nice.
Day 95 was literally here. I'm either saying goodnight to these guys or wishing them happy breakfast, as I fought another Black Widow on day 95. And apart from that one hit, I feel like my perfect blocking was coming along just nicely. I grabbed the milk molar inside the layer and then went down and took on the Black Ox beetles to get the next milk molar. The Sour Axe gets much maligned because it doesn't really have that much of an improved stat against most creatures, but I do just like it, and I do feel like it does maybe give a bit more stun damage to a lot of creatures, and I don't care what the data miners find, that's what I'm going with. I somehow never got the actual scab on top of the Puncho box, so that was next on the list, and then probably one of the toughest ones to get, that I ended up having to build a huge, massive, really irregular stairway made out of clay to go and get this one right up top. After this, I was pretty much only missing one more scab to get. I just had one more data location to find and I was done with all of that as well. So where was that missing scab? Well, of course it was on the picnic table. I'd totally forgotten about it being under the paper plates. You wouldn't believe how much clutch this came in, getting double bubble on these raw science points. as I frantically kept on trying to do as many of the quests as possible to claw back any I could. So that's what I was doing come day 96, getting that and plenty more of the Brussels sprouts because I was about to take on the Was Queen. Once I'd crafted smoothies, it was time to head straight over and take her on. I could not afford to lose this, I had to win this very first attempt. So I'm not gonna lie, I did go and practice a whole bunch before this on a whole bunch of the bosses just to make sure I get it right. Get underneath, mostly. But no matter how much practice you have, sometimes it's just really tough. For sure, easily the most annoying boss in Grounded. That said, I think without any of her summons, I think she'd be pretty easy to fight against, as it's often the drone that really gives me the most trouble because it's hard to hit while trying to also stay out of the way of the Was Queen. Gotta get the drone! Gotta get that drone! No! Ah! In the end, there were simply too many of them actually spawning, so I just decided to focus purely on the Queen itself and hopefully have enough heals to tank me through, and that seems to just about do the trick. Yes! Come on! Please! Please! Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! One boss down, 2 to go. With time running out, I'd already had the building materials with me to go ahead and start making sure the defense mixers were going to be okay, but I didn't have any more additional heals. I'd left them back at my base. A few blood bags and a couple of the wasberdotes, that's about it. But I started it up anyway, and I took aim at the ticks attacking first. The spicy weapon, the perfect thing here. Then stuff got real bad real quick as the bunch of the tiger mosquitoes started attacking as well. Quickly switched to my fresh weapon and then back to the spicy katana to take on the wave of ticks that were demolishing the lower half. Got level 3 of Blade Master, nice. Then back to taking on another wave of the tiger mosquitoes. Catastrophe nearly hit though as I was taking on this guy. I got knocked into the bottom of the defense and I couldn't get out. I fell down. I won't be able to get out. I just got to hold up. Honestly, the most scared I think I've ever been in Grounded. Praying and hoping the walls would hold out as I defended the mixer to the last. Get out of here. You'll never win. No. I don't know how, but by some miracle, I did it. Yes! Suck your mums. Suck you mosquitoes. That's right, that's right. Yeah! Of course, there was no time to waste. I had to pick up all of the building pieces as I would need them for the next defense. And that's where we headed off on day 97. Without Force Pendant, it was really tight. I couldn't go back home and get any more heals. I really regretted not having a decent blood stealing build on me. I've got like every creature in the fucking yards at me. Wee bit stressed? Yeah, maybe. You might notice that I'm using quite a mixed hodgepodge of armour. Apart from the ant armour, the fire ant armour, and maybe the speed boots, I didn't really have a whole ton of extra full suits. So really, the poison build could have come in clutch here if I'd gone and killed the Broodmother a bunch more times. This was the problem in rushing to 100 days to get everything done. I simply just wasn't equipped for some of this late game activity as much as I could have been. The fire ants were absolutely everywhere, but I was just about holding them down, of course, until the roly-polies turned up. With my armour breaking slowly, I just really didn't have much of an answer for these guys. I tried wailing as best as I could, but of course, this happened. Death number 5. No, I can't get in. Unbelievably, my defences had managed to hold up while I died. Yes! Did it! Oh my god, I can't believe I did it. I mean, I didn't really do it. The defences did the work there. Oh my god, leave me alone. This time I did run back home, got myself a few extra smoothies and repaired some of my armour. By now I just abandoned a lot of my cement buildings and grabbed as much of the mushrooms as I could to build mushroom walls. I did however have more pinecone, so I made a few of these ramps, so these would be pretty crucial. More fire ants and more roly-polies. This ended up being one of the easiest ones. I had more time to lead up and take care of the roly-polies further away, and the slightly raised terrain was also helping me take care of the ants and the following waves. I know there's more efficient ways to protect these mixers. Honestly, I was just in a panic and just put down as many walls as I could. Yes! Defended all the mixers and the super mixers! Woo! And I so desperately needed all of this raw science. So day 98 had already started. Obviously, I quickly went home, got some more of the mushroom pieces and the last remnants of my healing for now. It was time to do the final defense. To be fair, this ended up being a lot less stressful than any of the others because I obviously built a huge amount of defenses. My sour arrows were doing the job taking care of the fire ants, and obviously anything sour is going to do a good job for you here. I was also able to keep at bay some of these guys, and I did remember to put on guard dog again for this one. No, okay, now it's time. Let's go. Also, big shout out to my controller that was making an unbelievable amount of noise. Yeah, go on, go, 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 go. So after this, all I had to do was go and take on the little old mantis, the infected Broodmother, and pray I had enough raw science to buy all of the burger unlocks. This is why you go ahead and craft and upgrade your sour axe as much as possible. It's perfect for dealing with the orc enemies. Fire ants, dust mites, and of course bombardier beetles, they were no match for me and my axe, and a few arrows too. Oh, it's definitely easier once you've done all the mixers. In the past, I haven't had the guard dog mutation equipped. We did it! Woo! The mixer was working, the embiggening cocktail was being brewed, and I was going home. Get in! I grabbed the cocktail, quickly ran home, got some more healing, and then ran straight to the mantis boss fight. Okay. Okay. Remember, I've got to look at him. Peeked. To be fair, the mantis was a lot easier than I remember it last time, although for sure there were some moments where it nearly done me in. For some reason I've gone for a tick sword, thinking a lifesteal build would be pretty good. That better? Chopper? Yeah, let's try chopper. Let's try chopper. Where's my axe? Where's the axe? Yeah, let's try chopper. But honestly, I was just relying on the termite axe so much now in the late game, it ended up being the go-to weapon. Definitely had trouble though because I had the wrong boots on. I know, I should have thought about all of this, but I was honestly so panicked about trying to get this done in time, as I needed at least a day or and a half to maybe try taking on the infected. In the end, I returned to the tick sword to finish off the job and hopefully try to keep stealing some life. Yes! Yes! Apex Predator, baby, and look at all these sweet achievements that I was getting for the first time on Steam. Just one more, just one more. Oh, I've got all the data, guys, all the data, all the chips, all the stuff, all the research notes. I just got to get that one statue. I've got all the places. It should be 100%. And I'm pretty sure I've got all the scabs. 54 of them, I think. Quickly scanned the mantis pieces and I did end up crafting the axe and then checked what else I had left. I needed 4,000 more raw science to get the last sign set. I decided to worry about that later. It was time to go and get the mouldy hoagie up and running. And one last check of all of my cards. I spent the rest of the evening crafting up the maximum amount of smoothies I could, and didn't forget to go back over to the Black Ant Hill and get my reward for completing all of the mixers now that the door was open. A ton of upgrade rocks, but more importantly the statue and of course the pinch whacker. Now the statue is the only thing you need for the 100%, you don't actually need to collect the weapons, but yeah, you get the idea. Rascal Rogue level 3 unlocked. I did end up running back home to see if I could craft any more stuff that might help me, and did manage to squeeze out a few more smoothies. And so on day 99, this was it. I headed over to the infected Broodmother's lair. Okay, we got to do this. We got to get this right. Peep, don't forget to peep. So like I told you guys, I did a lot of practice before taking this guy on. But in all my practice, I'd been using maxed level gear, and I totally forgot about that by the time I loaded up my actual 100 days world. My spear was only like level 7, maybe level 8, and while my armour was mostly level 9, I still felt like I was a bit underdeveloped here. But I held my own through the first stages, only getting bit once, and my perfect blocking was definitely improving. I'd gone with 4's pendant because I hadn't managed to pick up one of the fungal growth charms, and we managed to take him down, but he didn't give me any rest. He totally spawned straight away and he's meant to go on his back for a few seconds. This did put me off quite a bit, and I had to recover quickly. She did manage to nab me a few times, but luckily I had a big well of smoothies to back me up. It was all about trying to avoid the shout and scream, as that was the one that did the most life or resistance damage to you. No, leave me alone. Ow, you son of a bitch. The first and second phase was always something that I was able to do easily. It was the third phase that I must have died about 15 times in my practice runs. She also did that same thing again where she didn't actually rest up when I killed her the second time, she just carried on wailing on me. I've now used up pretty much all the rest of my other smoothies and I only had a few more of the raging ones and of course the mega heals. I've been trying to avoid using any of the heal basters. They were quite fiddly to use and I always panicked a bit whenever I was trying to drop some. It's when it gets to the halfway point that things get really tough. She starts firing out more of her shots, I swear, and the gas was just obliterating me every time she screamed also. But the explosions were the things that were killing me the most in my practices. The secret to success with this is you've got to have a high powered weapon because you've got to do as much damage to her as she's trying to do to you. You can't be super passive, you can't keep just running away, you've got to go in on the attack. Like sure, not run up to her when she's got a whole bunch of explosions around her or the gas, but you do need to not be too passive and try and line up as many hits as possible with a fast moving fresh weapon. I had over 70 healing debuffs by the time I managed to kill her. Woo! I honestly couldn't believe I'd managed to do it. Spore Lord activated, Broodmother done and dusted. But I had no time to lose. I had to get at least 1,000 more raw science to go ahead and get the last picture set. Thankfully it was fairly easy, taking out 5 orb weavers and we quickly did it. That's it, we've done it, we've done it. I'd grinded so much in so many missions in between all the adventures you'd seen, and we just about had enough. Of course, I didn't have enough resources to go crafting any of the infected Broodmother weapons or armour. I settled though, knowing that I'd completed everything else I needed. I started this 100 days challenge 7 months ago. It took me a good long time, and so many of these episodes you can see as feature length Let's Plays. So go and check them out in the playlist on my channel. With nothing left to do but insert the embiggening cocktail, go and talk to Wendell one last time. It was time to go big and go home. But we weren't finished yet. I still had to check to see if we were going to get that all important 100% scorecard. So once I dealt with the orc creatures once more, it was time. Go on, get in. Super win and go big, baby. The last of the achievements that I'd never actually got. Oh, it's been emotional. This has been about 7, maybe 8 months of me doing this. We finally got there.
And with a flash, that was the end of the tiny adventure of a lifetime. At least that's what the local papers call it. It's hard to believe how much has happened since then. There were reporters, investigators, even the FBI got involved. They tried to keep a lid on all of it, but the whole story came out. About the kidnappings, about the dead teenagers, about Omni. Turns out, everyone did learn the name of Director Dalton Schmector, just like he always would. But when the dust settled, the weirdest thing happened. People learned the truth about the shrinking technology and about me. It felt good to get the recognition that I had always wanted for all my life. Pete, Willow, Max, and Hoops tried to go back to being normal teenagers. Burgle has joined the kids' new science and robotics club. He's the mascot, they didn't tell me. I'm expecting big things from all of you. Life's getting back to normal around here. It's funny that the world can still seem so small. And no, I haven't come up with my next big invention. And I don't mind one bit either. Because when it comes down to it, all that really matters is that we make the most of the time that we have together.
Okay, moment of truth. It should be 100 days, 2,000 creatures, 165 grass, 1,400. Yes! Get in. 100% score. This challenge started off as a fail, not being able to complete the full game without dying once, but we did turn it into something positive. So originally I was going to do 150 days of me building a brand new base and having an epic museum with all the stuff bugs and all of the armor sets. At this stage we didn't have a clue about New Game Plus, but I did know updates would come. I was pretty rusty after having a little mini break before starting up the streams and Let's Plays again.
Oh my god, missed every single one of them.
But I eventually got in the swing of it and just about managed to defeat this one.
Oof.
Widow Dagger crafted, it was time to get even more resources. And a never ending grind for green shell bugs.
Don't turn around, cause I wanna see your heart breaking.
Dive into the water on day 102 to pick up as much pond moss as possible before the spiny fleas got me.
Another one. Science!
We were nearly there in getting the Black Widow set complete. Day 103 I went and killed every spider. Like literally I went and killed pretty much every type and every kind on my quest to get as many spider fangs as possible. Starting with some wolf spiders. Ooh. Don't forget to get your trophies going so you get more parts, especially from the Black Widows. Round 2 I found a lot easier this time.
Ooh!
And still one of the most challenging to me is the infected wolf spider, because that unblockable attack with its explosive damage, although that's been fixed in the latest update.
Yay, there we go.
Rinse and repeat on 104. I ain't scared of no 8-legged freaks.
No retreat, no surrender. Oh my god, there's a wolf spider as well. Oh! Can I get through? No, I can't get through! Get out of here and fight me, bro. That's it. Oh my god! He done me. Oh! There we go.
Eventually made it through and we got ourselves the full complete Black Widow armor set. Let's go! Days 105 to 7 I was going ahead and getting my moth gear now. I wanted to see if I could become the perfect cut man and use a huge amount of range damage to take on enemies. First off, killing the moths.
Oh, I'm cheesing so bad here. There we go. Oh, oh damn it. Ah.
And no, you cannot jump in shallow water and expect to survive.
Oh my god!
Part of the challenge is I'm going to need a ton of stuffed creatures, so I'm going to need all the fuzz.
Just want your fuzz. That's all I want. God damn, I'm going to have to kill a lot more. Oh mate, I did not block them.
For sure, Cutman build is great for some enemies like the wolf spider, not so much.
Hey.
Quick trip to the trenches got me the fabled gold card of the Black Ox Beetle. 107 and the All-Weavers wanted revenge for me decimating their brothers and sisters the day before, but they didn't succeed. I now needed as many Black Ox Beetle parts as possible to carry on upgrading my armour and weapons. So it was time to dig out the waft emitter.
3 of these guys at once. Oh, fudge you. Oh, no. I should never have come here. I've elected the way of pain. Oh my god, I shot the rock. I shot the rock. Oh no, I've used up my explosive ones.
I hadn't actually meant to summon this many. I was definitely finding it a challenge.
Whoa.
I thought this guy was dead. I thought this guy was honestly dead. Ooh. Oh! I pulled myself from the water and took care of the last remaining few. Ow! Ow! It burns! It burns! Okay, maybe I had a little bit of help from the stink bug. Ooh! Quick pit stop for some more smoothies, and then I went down the trenches one more time to see if I could find some more naturally spawning Black Ox beetles. You need so many of these horns. I really wish there was another bug part that we could use to upgrade our weapons. Rinse and repeat day 8 and 9. Yes, we've got a horn! We got a horn! Oh, we didn't get a horn that time. Oh! The undershed is still a very dangerous place no matter how many hours you've got in grounded. You like that? Oh, do you like that? I like this too. Oh, you sucker. Let's go. Oh! Didn't think it'd be a good idea to take on some Black Widow spiderlings. Where? Come on. Oh! Just one. Well, don't get hit. I had loot luck and steel on, but I seemingly wasn't getting as many as I wanted. Alright, we'll take that. I've got one horn. Okay, got one Black Ox horn. Go on, lad. Have it up. And after 3 days nearly of straight killing creatures, I was pretty much done. Cocoa melon. Yeah, let's go. I did not think we were that close to 100 likes. I could see all sharks. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, mummy shark, do 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 do. Mummy shark, do 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 do. Mummy shark, do 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 do. Mummy shark. I stupidly said if a video got to 100 likes, I would sing Baby Shark. I'm true man on my word. Apart from some base sorting, that's what I did on day 110. More bug killing and more resource gathering on day 111. And more of a focus on getting candies as I began day 112. Why? I needed as much candy as possible to craft some more mage gear, and I got lucky in getting a spicy charm. Then over to the rubbish for more candy scouring before stopping off and adding more to my sap farm. Oh baby. Gotta go Wizard's Jewel, right? Oh yeah. Ooh yeah, go on, level 9 it. I wanted to test out my battle mage idea as well and see if the Black Ox gear could still complement the Wizard's hat. So let's go ahead and make the mint one. Ooh, but we kind of, I still haven't got a lot of Brittlestone either. So I'm going to get all the staves up to level 5. But here's where I'm probably going to go, no, we'll just choose the most powerful for the moment. I'd crafted the Frost Staff and the Sour Staff. It was time to go and test it out and see how good of a mage it was. They had changed blocking recently in an update and I was finding it really difficult to kill and take on so many of the creatures. No, again, oh my god, I'm getting owned. Eventually I got good. Oof. It's such a shame we never got a complete armour set for the mage build in Grounded. It would have been really cool to see what kind of effects they could have added to a full sleek set if we had the full outfit, robes and maybe some crazy slippers. And by the end of day 113 I finally had enough to craft the spicy staff. Day 14 much the same, killing bugs, getting as many candies and resources as possible. Oh, thank you. The pure power of using the spicy staff on wolf spiders is immense. Definitely some of the best effects I've seen in any game, let alone just Grounded. Pretty much the rest of the day was spent on the rampage taking out these guys. Oh mate. Eventually though my wizard's helmet got broke and it was time to return home. After a good few days of slaughtering bugs with magic, it was time to do a bit of a refit. Next 4 days I pretty much spent rejigging my castle, making it a bit more open and giving myself my very first elevator shaft. Admittedly not the best one, but I now had a bit more easier access upwards. Before rounding out with another trip and another farm of wolf spider parts. I needed so many of these fangs to upgrade so much of my armour. As well as a quick stock up on charcoal, we need a bunch of this for eventually all the cement walls I'll be using to help defend against New Game Plus.
Good soak in the hot tub to finish the day off too. 119 and a return to the Termite den to see if I could get enough materials from the king to craft the chest piece. I tried going a bit more of a ranged route using my salty arrows and the wasp armor, but it definitely was taking long, especially with the aim being quite off for some reason. I promise I'm a better shot than I'm showing right now. Oh! 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 Oh my god! Oh no, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. I forgot. I forgot I had Apex Predator on using the wasp bow and got the fright of my life with that wasp appearing. After that I decided to go down the magic route and see if I could get a lot of rebounds, but the sour stuff was okay, but not the best. Finally made my way through the hundreds of termites before taking on the king once more, carrying on my range build. Mainly because it's the best way to go ahead and cheese. As long as you don't destroy all of the actual splinters, you can keep him there for a while you just pepper him with arrows. Whoa! Grab the carcass and then a quick return to base to craft the new chest piece. Closed out day 119 with some magic use again and the grind for more of the wolf spider fangs. Honestly, the game gets so grindy needing these particular bug parts and the black ox beetle horns, it does become a bit of a drag. That's so much of your day. If you want to get every armor set and fairly upgraded, then you're going to have to do this. Although I guess not everyone is going to necessarily need every armor set. The quest system had recently been added and I was taking full advantage of building up my raw science. Day 120, more sap, more using magic to kill spiders and getting more upgrades. Some prep for heals and I was off to go ahead and take on the Broodmother on day 122. In fact, this would start the beginning of a 3-day epic battle where I would fight the Broodmother over and over again using various different tools and builds. Okay, here we go. I'm not confident in this, people. I'm not, because honestly, I'm not that great at blocking. Oh shit, well, that's not a great start. It turns out there was an actual bug with blocking using staves, which was making my job a lot tougher. But the power of the spicy staff against the Broodmother was pretty epic. Oh! Oh! I forgot that she becomes resistant to actually spicy damage about halfway through the fight, so it wasn't as effective, but I was unlocking more of my Whittle Wizard mutation. It was a lot of fun experimenting though for sure, taking on the Broodmother with various different weapons. Yay! I went home and crafted the stuff version so I could get more loot luck and get even more pieces, and returned once more to try taking it on with the frost staff. They're pretty resistant against frost magic, so it probably wasn't the best idea, but I persevered. Come on! It's not hitting me at all from up there. Hooray! Next up was the turn of the Sour Staff, and this definitely did a lot of damage, but it was quite hard to take on some of the ads once they started spawning. You've got to have pretty good aim to hit them directly on, otherwise you'll end up getting overwhelmed. Whoa! Whoa! Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? In the end I had to rely on Old Faithful digging out the katana as I simply wasn't making any progress. I would have felt much more confident in this if I had my wizard's helmet fully done. Ah, oh, come on! But I was struggling even with that, realising I didn't have the right build. In the end I reverted back to the spicy staff as it done the job. Oh! Oh! And I got a gold card as well! Whoa! I really wanted to try one more time though. Could I defeat the Broodmother with all 3 staves? I eventually managed to do it. Come on! No! Big one, big one, big one, big one! Fire! They missed it again! Yes! I pushed my luck a 4th time, just a bit too much. With my armour breaking and running out of heals, I got done. Of course I wasn't just doing it for fun, I was looking for more parts to craft the Mother Demon armour. With my final attempts being to see if I could defeat her with her own pieces armour and the actual club of the Mother Demon. And I've got to say, it worked out pretty well. The club of the Mother Demon, while upgraded, definitely does a lot of damage. Not too sure about the poison abilities, since the Broodmother's pretty resistant, although not against venom. But the same problem was happening. The club of the Mother Demon wasn't doing enough damage to so many different adds, and I got done again. But now, armed with a bit more patience and certainly making sure I was healing properly, I took them all out and finally defeated her with her own gear.
Come on! Yes!
I had plenty of now Broodmother parts to make the kebabs needed to take on multiple mantises, and that would be something for the future. Days 25 to 29 was more home improvements, more grinding resources, and thinking about the different armor sets that I would need to complete. We needed the fluffy pupa hat, and eventually we'd have to pick up all of the black armor. But I was getting another raid. Again, all the spiders were unhappy, as I'd probably murdered their mum about 5 times. So the black ant armor set needed a lot of B-fuzz, and it was a trip to the table to take on as many as I could with my Cutman build.
Oh, mate.
Range build isn't so good though when facing against the orcs, which were annoying me no end, attacking pretty much any time I went out on a roam.
Oh!
Eventually made it back and got my revenge. I'd done it though. I got enough resources now to craft a black ant armor set. It's always just been a little bit weak, and you kind of bypass it as there's so many better armors, although it has had a few changes in the last year. But it just simply isn't good enough at this stage of the game for me, and I don't still recommend getting it. I think you could easily skip it and go for other armor sets.
Come on.
You're meant to get a critical chance to do after blocking, but it's only a 1% extra chance, so it's pretty worthless. And in the end it was becoming a liability taking on just some of these guys. Sick of killing spiders, I went and decided to kill a bunch of Black Ox beetles with the good old pinch whacker. I now had enough to go ahead and craft the Black Ox armor set, and that was another one ticked off the list. And for now, goodbye Black Ant armor, you have been utterly useless. Day 28, the update 1.3 arrived with loads of playground stuff, including the brand new basketballs. So I took a break from all the killing and tried my hands at some hoops. I don't think I'm going to be drafted to the NBA anytime soon.
Oh! Yes!
I pretty much messed around with more of the decor items the next day. Peeping Trudy, the koi, was now a thing. And I finally took a look at the quest list itself, which would come in handy later for some more filler stuff to do. And I finished off day 30 with a raid from the ants. There was over 99 quests added as part of Burgle's missions. I was trying to get through as many as I could on day 31. And the usual grind for resources, taking on more bugs to get more ovens, as I was going to be cooking up even more mushroom bricks for later.
There we go.
And another IWS kill on day 31 too.
Yes!
Spent quite a bit of my raw science on duping much needed upgrades like the jewels, and had some fun with the bright light that comes on at night time by the oak tree. Day 32, more candy runs, more scarab runs, and I had enough resources now to start upgrading my Broodmother armor set.
Boom! Oh, I got a gold card as well. Nice.
Always good getting a cheeky gold card, as I completed another one of Burgle's special markers. These replaced the previous ones that you'd have to build out of resources yourself. I'm rounding off the day with my Bard bow getting upgraded. Days 34 to 41 were a blur of me basically redoing the waft emitter over and over again. Starting out with simple bugs like red ants and seeing how many parts I could get just by putting the minimum in. The real focus was on the raw science you got as a reward, another new feature of 1.3 that you can now get tons of raw science by defeating all these bugs. Not the best place to build it, I just wanted somewhere away from my castle just in case, but the stink bugs were causing me issues. So I started building up some defences around the waft emitter as well as my chest full of bug parts. Another cheeky gold card, the infected mite this time, and then just racking up small amounts of raw science with wave after wave of different bugs. Some creatures are definitely worth it more than others, particularly with the challenge, but the sour battle axe being so goated really made quick work pretty much on every bug using it. And yeah, I know Black Widows and Black Ops Beetles, giving waves of them is guaranteed to get me lots of the parts I need and more raw science, but I was still just going through a lot more bug parts. There wasn't really any guidance on exactly how much raw science you got for each wave and what was the most cost effective, and that's what I was really testing out over these 7 days. But Lord help me, Black Widows are still a bit of a challenge, especially with their new attack where they summon a baby Black Widow that can heal them if they eat it. On day 138 I briefly stopped to go and check out the mysterious door. Oh, it's definitely a sort of weird sound. That's a rift, if ever there was a rift sound. The Rift Exploratory Squad, people. Would my theory be true that we might come across what is given to us as info when you defeat Director Schmector, some sort of Rift Exploratory Squad? Probably not. Back to the grind with the waft emitter on day 39 and started ramping up even more of the bug parts, putting in as many ant parts as possible with the fire ants. Little top up needed of my defences before maybe going a bit too mad with the Black Ops Beetle parts, as I had to take on like 10 of these guys. And I got 700 raw science. But it was day 41 that I really had just so many of them spawn, and I was surprised I managed to defeat them, but honestly they get in each other's way and I filled up the crevice with the dead bodies of my fallen foes. This is where you got to combine and make sure that if you're doing this kind of thing, you've got an arena specially built with all of your stuff bugs to make life a bit easier in having these creatures be summoned, and so that you can get more resources from them as well. I'm making massive gains in raw science completing some of the quests and getting it from the actual waft emitter. After the relative ease of taking on so many different bugs with my Sour Battle Axe, I needed a bit more of a challenge, and that's what we did with day 42, taking on the Mantis once again. Similar vibe as taking on the Broodmother, I wanted to use its own weapons and armor set against it. Turns out it doesn't do that much damage and certainly wasn't my favourite. Oof! Wow! 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 So back to familiar territory using the salty mace and a good shield. I do remember getting absolutely owned by the Mantis the first few times I ever tried taking it on, but I was definitely getting better. But the Sour Battle Axe was coming in clutch again. Just look how much damage I was doing with my hits, and the abilities of the Glow Gloop trinket that I managed to get from one of the firebugs during one of the waft emitter raids. Honestly, a goated combination, definitely worth the grind in killing so many of them, see if you can pick it up. Only has a 1% chance of dropping, but it made short work of the Mantis. Ah! Yes! Okay, wow. Sour Battle Axe. I had more fights to come, but I realised I didn't actually have all of the Mantis armour set, so I quickly went back and crafted what I needed, and prepped for the future by crafting the stuffed bug version 2 and doing some more duping, especially of the Mantis heads, as they're obviously such a low drop when fighting it. And more importantly, we had the pieces that we would need for our museum. Next 2 days it was the turn of the Was Queen. A formidable fight. I wasn't looking forward to doing this over and over again. I didn't really try bothering too hard with using her same materials to fight her. I went straight for the sword and the Mantis gear, seeing if it would do any good. For sure, when you can get close, the Salt Mace is pretty goated, but just got to remember to stop and take care of her minions. But in the end I had to switch over different armour because it just simply wasn't cutting it with the Mantis gear. But eventually I whittled her down and took her out. Nah fam, that is some bullshit right there. That stamina regen is awful. And yeah, I had a little moan about the stamina regen effects of the Was Queen. Round 2, would I do any better with range, having a fully upgraded crossbow, or at least close to it, and obviously my Cutman gear, which I've been using quite a lot and I was enjoying. The secret as always is salty arrows, and then switching over to the Salt Mace when needed. Once I crafted the Queen stuff bug, I then went ahead and made the Marion hat, which I never really used that much of. Back to the grind of killing more bugs to get more parts to make more stuffed creatures and the trophies, as well as pick up even more raw science. Also started setting up more of the zip lines all around the yard to make things a bit easier to get back and forth. For some stupid reason I decided to put all the stuffed bugs in my front yard when I was obviously going to be moving them to another location. If you didn't know, my base was going to be on top of the Brawny Boy bin box. So I was going to scope that out soon once I'd got more duping done on day 149 and took care of some more was on the way home. My original plan was to go ahead and get all of this done by day 150, but with the new updates adding obviously the quest, I thought I could stretch it out to 200 days. And I blatantly hadn't even thought about actually what I was going to build in terms of the museum. Always though, the quest for getting more of the stuff bugs and the stuff needed, like obviously the fuzz from bees and the dust mites. Day 151, it was time to head up to the Brawny Boy inbox after finishing off some more of my stuff bugs. Took a whole day to pretty much get the resources and then build up to it. Have you guys ever been up here? Did you realise there are 2 green shield bugs that you could take on? And yes, my face has made an appearance as I'd forgot to turn it off when I was streaming this. And you can go and watch every single aspect of this pretty much in either streams or Let's Play videos if you want to see more of my adventures in detail. Now these guys don't respawn generally unless it's a new game plus, so don't panic too much about actually building a base up here. You won't have to deal with them constantly. Although this guy actually decided to jump off the side of the box rather than face me anymore. But there was no escaping me, green boy. Day 152, I surveyed all the bugs that I'd already accrued. Definitely needed a few more, but we was getting close. Some more grind for candy and more grind for the fuzz. 153 to 155, it was again just that candy grind, picking up as much as I could from either lying around on its own or inside some of the chests. I even went all the way to the northeast to pick up as much of the mint candy as I could, as that was the one I was the most short on. Also picking up more of the pond moss, which I really didn't have a lot of. But I was definitely starting to feel now a lot more of my candy reserves, but I definitely still needed more of the sturdy and the supreme rocks. Raids at this stage are a real pain in the butt, and I got attacked by a ton of mosquitoes, which were pretty difficult. It made me think about my next base, the museum, which would be my new base as well, having proper defences to easily take out some of these guys. At this stage, lots of stuff was being revealed about the next update, Fully Yoked, and we knew that we would be facing off against remixed yards. Although we thought it'd just be regular New Game Plus, I knew I'd have to have lots of defences around the mixers, as that was going to be a key component of getting through the door. So days 157 to 162, that's what I effectively did, in between gathering some more resources like the scarab shells. Using a ton of my cement resources, we made and built better protection for the free canisters, as we'd be doing these over and over again in New Game Plus. And of course, finally add in some of the pinecone rooftops too, to give that extra protection against the airborne creatures. Lots of spike traps around, and then I started laying out even more mushroom walls. With just a quick pit stop for another burgle flag pole. I definitely had Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings in my mind as I built another cement wall to go all around. Day 163, it was again time to go and take on some of the bosses. Again, needing lots of practice to take on the 3 creatures that we'd have to defeat. The Was Queen, the Broodmother and the Mantis.
Oh, died already.
Although once again the goo trinket was coming in clutch, really making a huge difference, and I recommend it for pretty much all bosses. I had one more go and then I decided to build my special arenas. Unknowing at this point we would be able to get teleporters, I figured I'd be able to set these up straight away in New Game Plus. Little would I know that wouldn't be the case until New Game Plus 2. But still would come in handy having somewhere with all of the necessary stuff. If I wanted more damage attack, having the trophy up. If I wanted the stuffed creature, getting more loot, that would be also a good point to have it right here. It took a full another day on day 164 to finish this off, but I was pretty happy with the results. We were ready for the Broodmother in New Game Plus. 165, the same again, but this time with the Mantis once I dealt with another raid of Orb Weavers. It's funny that every time I go and kill their mum, they seem to want revenge. But the same deal, building a small area, making sure I had all of the stuffed or at least trophies ready to do more damage anytime I need to go and fight the Mantis. And then just more practice as much as I could get taking on the creatures themselves, this time with the Sarlacc and the Giddy Goop again being really good. This time I was getting tons of trinkets. 3 out of 5 boss fights I managed to pick up the Mantis trinket. Maybe a little bit more experimentation again with certain weapons just to see how they would do. But I forgot how goated the spear can be. Although not maybe the best weapon for the Mantis, I still love this thing. Before switching over to my fresh Schmector. So always make sure you've got the mutations correct every time you go and loot a body. Get you more chance of getting them boss trinkets, which do seem to have had a boost, so you've got more chance of getting them, as they used to be only 1% chance. There's definitely a lot more with loot luck. But for sure the Giddy Goop is my new favourite trinket. It just slows down the enemy attacks so much, it makes things a lot easier. And then the last fight completely ranged using my upgraded crossbow. How many trinkets have you managed to get from bosses, and have you got boxes filled of all the others like me? Let me know. Days 166 to 171 I had some special guests join me. We were hyping up the release of Fully Yoked Update, and big troopers in the grounded scene like Paralyzer and Mother Chudders came and helped me grind for resources, as well as Max Fox Gaming and Tiny Pirate Gaming, Twitch streamers that have been a big part of the grounded community. You'll find links to all of their channels in the comment section down below. Go and check them out and check out the streams we did where they helped me. I was also joined by I Am Cade, but we ended up doing some playground levels. You can check out that stream too, but it was still nice to have some of my friends come and help me grind, as I realised I was still really short on a bunch of resources. I put Max Fox and Tiny Pirate Gaming to their good uses, as they're pretty expert fighters, so we went and took on the Was Queen. It was really tough with multiple players. It's the first time I've actually taken on a boss with other people, as I'm usually such a solo guy when it comes to grounded. We really weren't massively prepared, especially the other guys.
One, come on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just about defeat the Was Queen a few times. It was really crucial to get as much prep as I could, making sure I had enough of the muscle sprouts to go ahead and make the best beefy smoothies. Although maybe I should have still kept my diving equipment. Even a pro like me forgets how dangerous the water can be. And then Mother's Chudders and Paralyzer helped me gather even more resources and take on some of the toughest bugs in the northeastern part of the upper yard. 171, and I was doing the final repairs to my base just in case something crazy happened, as the update was about to go live that day. Grounded's last ever content update, and the secret door was opened. Inside was a mysterious note detailing that remixed yards were a thing. You'd be able to replay Grounded's main story, picking up burgle chips and then finding new enemies to fight, as well as infused bosses and creatures. It was going to be a tough experience, and I still felt like I wasn't 100% ready. So although I did play some New Game Plus, I ended up reverting the save because I felt like I lost a lot of progression in a rush to show stuff off. Proper toasted. No, wait, we've got still much to do. Yup, pretty much go and take care of some ant queens. Unusual, I know, but I did really want to make sure I was doing all the right things. So we did that indeed. I went and took care of the first ant queen, the new ones that had been added. Giving them a special treat would give you a reward. Or you could choose to poison them, or in the case of the first red ant queen, infect them. And that's what I did, finding the mysterious note recipes inside the Haze laboratory. You're only able to go ahead and infect one of the ant queens in a regular game mode, and the note for that is in the pipe as you lead into the Haze lab. Then it was back to base to craft the juicy mushroom sandwich, or the infected version that I picked up. It's a big choice to make. You can choose to be friends with all the ant queens and you'll get the ant hum mutation, which means they won't hurt you again, any of the ants. But infecting them now left a ripple in an alternate dimension, and basically gave me access to infected weapons the next go. Also gave me access to the sausager, where I could craft trinkets, giving me new abilities, which you can check out some of my guides to see explain more. The infected root does obviously kill the ant queen, so you still get all the ant parts, and it meant I could craft a new red ant strategist set, which was meant to be an extra summons build. Not gonna lie though, I didn't really find it that great. The scepter itself, it gives more health to your summons, but it's pretty weak as a weapon. And for a short time there was an OP build due to some balancing issues that meant summons were pretty OP, but that quickly got nerfed. Day 175, it was time to go and take care of the Black Ant Queen. This time we was going to need some recipes for a gum sandwich and a poison one too, which meant a trip to the Black Ant lab, obviously as you might expect, before fighting for my life from a whole ton of ant lions before I made my escape and crafted what we needed back at base. I had a big decision. I couldn't infect her, so was I going to be friendly or poison her to get the tier 2 black strategist set? Decided to think about that a little bit as I went and got more resources, and remembered there was a brand new trinket also added, and also the mystery of the 5th teenager finally solved. This is the mystery solved once and for all. That's the trinket, and that's the note. Dear whoever, no idea what's going on. I woke up with 4 other kids in a giant lawn. I tried to wake them, but they're super zonked out and honestly seem better off tucked in that box for now. All I know is there's little huts with too many computers, not enough snacks. Spiders are hunting me. I need to find us a safe place. He's dead, kids. He's dead. I don't want to hear any more talk. Oh, but maybe he survived, and like maybe the spiders put him in a web somewhere, and maybe he's just hanging around, or you know, he's not really dead. No, that is dead. That is solving the mystery of why there's 5 character slots, which is basically just a mistake from Obsidian. I'm pretty sure they've said that a bunch of times. But on second thoughts, was that true? Obviously the trinket is meant to help you escape from spiders, so maybe the 15 does live on somewhere. What do you guys think? After a quick morning clearing out more of the quest, killing all weavers with their spicy nemesis, I decided to let the other ant queens live, and we was going to craft a nice treat for the black ant queen. As this was stage 1, this would mean the red ants would actually leave me alone from now on, the soldiers. And if I wanted the second stage for the black ants, the soldiers, to leave me alone, I'd have to go and be friends with the fire ant queen and hopefully capture that third one in the next New Game Plus. As usual, I picked up some pheromones as a reward, and I got myself a baby pet ant. I renamed him Baby Para and scanned the pheromones to get the tier 2 repair tool and more decor. Day 177, it was time to start moving all of my stuff from my old base to the new location, where eventually I would have a mega museum and castle. Along the way, another raid incoming from larvae after decimating so many of them earlier. And then a pretty long job of disassembling all my stuff bugs to carry them quicker and easier up to the brawny boy bin box. I set up more zip lines on day 178 to the boy bin box to make things a bit easier, gathered more candies, and then went and nabbed the fire ant queen treat from the fire ant hill, before finishing the day getting another burgle flag on top of the sandcastle. 179 to 183, a whole mixed bag of all sorts, getting more quests filled, taking advantage of a bug where it had so many food drops from the ants in the ant hills, and days of making sure I had new pathways to things like the field station near the brawny boy bin box and mixer, and a better stairway, as it was going to be a while, like I said, before I got the teleporters. I really had wanted them in New Game Plus 1, but I was going to need also a ton more raw science to buy them in New Game Plus 2, where they're actually available to buy. It took a while, but I was pretty pleased with the results of my epic staircase up to the box. Day 184, it was time for some more epic parkour as I tried to get to one of the highest and toughest burgle flags on the brick wall all the way over to the east. I wanted to see if I could get on top of it from the lawnmower, maybe building some mushroom bricks, but there was nowhere to place them. In the end, I went to where the gun was, where you find the key for the under tire, and built myself a weird staircase on top of them. I know I could have just parkoured up the branches, but I always found it pretty tough, and I wanted something a bit new, and also take a look at some old Easter eggs. It's been a long time, Mr. Potato Chef. I always thought we'd get some sort of update or DLC that might take us to the garage station, but sadly no, maybe in Grounded 2. I found the perfect spot to drop down and raise the flag. I only had one more of these to go, and I've completed every single flag. And since I was in the vicinity, I decided to jump over to Moldok's castle. Did you know you can get onto it this method using a glider and actually going under the castle and then climbing up? Just need a few mushroom bricks to get on top of the lip. A few tiger mosquitoes later, and I did it. The final burgle flag done. Woo! On returning home, I had another raid for more mosquitoes, but this time a big issue. There was a bug and some of the creatures were invincible and they wouldn't stop attacking my base, meaning I had a literally raid for about half an hour of them just demolishing my castle. Now I was planning to leave anyway, so it wasn't the end of the world, but it still kind of pissed me off a little bit that all my good work was being destroyed by something I couldn't kill. Thankfully it did get fixed about a week later, but yeah, mosquitoes can screw off. I tidied up the wreckage of them horrible mosquitoes and carried on dismantling the rest of my stuff that would be taken over to my new base. I needed toenails for my next treat for the fire ant queen, so I grabbed them on day 86, as well as carried on getting more stuff. Tasty toe jam sandwich. Day 87 I went and got myself the trinket, the sticky fingers from the toolbox, and then went and gave the treat to the fire ant queen. Now I had 2 baby pet ants. Yeah, yum yum yum. Boom! Complete Burgle's list of quests. Get in, baby. And yep, I'd done it. I'd finished all the quests in Burgle's list, 99 of them. That's it. Top tip, don't bother taking any fire ant eggs home. You can't craft or do anything with them, and they'll pretty much just start hatching in your base and start demolishing stuff. Grab the pheromone and go ahead and trash the eggs. Day 88 I went and scanned the pheromone, and this gives me access to the very specific fire ant staff, which is pretty cool to fire, I'm not going to lie. Made some new homes for my pet ants, and then went and really tested out the new stave against some of the creatures in the upper yard. Collected some of the last big 500 raw science that I've left, and more dismantling and carrying stuff to my new base. The last one of the night I got a big surprise. Whoa! They must have hatched! Yep, like I warned you, the fire ants, they had all hatched, even though I put the eggs in the fridge, which was kind of weird. But hey ho. Once I took out the pesky intruders, it was time for a good sleep and beginning day 190. Which began with more starting to fit out and plan my base, and also more of the stuffed bugs. I wanted to do this now, so I had a shopping list of any of the bug parts that I would need, as I definitely knew some were missing. Day 191, picking up all the rest of my armours and transferring them. And more of that candy grind, having known now that I would need so much of it to make some of the new weapons and get all my upgrades. I needed a lot more than I'd originally planned, as well as more advanced materials like lint. There were so many stuffed bugs, and I definitely still needed more of the fuzz from the dust mites, but I'd pretty much done it, only a few more bugs to go, and I definitely knew I'd be able to pick up the stuff for that easy. One last trip to get some muscle sprouts, mixing things up with the last few days and having another boss battle. Hopefully you've seen, and maybe heard at least from the intro to this video, that in the first 100 days the culmination was taking on the infected Broodmother and completing everything 100%. Now I didn't need to kill her, as she wasn't part of the requirements from New Game Plus, and I'd obviously done it and opened the door already. I felt like I definitely needed some practice, as I wanted to kill all the creatures in New Game Plus, so why not get refreshed now, even though it would be a lot easier this time, surprisingly. Oh, okay, forget it. I'm not rushing to explode it. Ah! Come on, I blocked that! I'm not hearing the ping as much. There we go. I was actually finding it tough, but not as tough as it used to be. I swear they've nerfed her a little bit and made her easier since the last time I fought her. Again, maybe it's just the giddy goop, it was really helping me out slow down the attacks. I definitely recommend it for everyone if you're having trouble taking on the IBM. Yes! Yes! Whoop whoop, I did it again! I really needed this, as I was still trying to craft all the armor sets and make sure I had enough to go ahead and get all the stuff bugs too. They've made that easier. They've made that easier. Like, I missed a lot of perfect blocks there and stuff, but they definitely made that easier. And we were pretty much done. I only had 6 days now to go ahead and build an epic base. Cue the montage and some grounded theme music. Let's go. And there we go, I did it. I maybe didn't have time to set out all my armour on the armour stands, as I really did want to get to the remixer before the end of day 200. And I still think I need to get the infected Broodmother full armour set unlocked, because I just hadn't killed it enough and I used so many of the pieces for the stuff version. But I was pretty happy with the result. All the stuff bugs pretty much here, except maybe some of the ant queens, all the furniture, all the trophies, and plenty of space to put lots of weapons and them armour sets once I get myself sorted, which will probably begin day 201. It took me a huge amount of time to build this, but I was really running against the clock, so there are a few things I still want to improve eventually. I didn't want it just to be a museum that I'd never go past or use, so I did try making sure that I did have the armour stands next to the appropriate stuff bugs, meaning I'd have to go and visit anytime I wanted to swap in or out. And of course to get the buffs and bonuses that you get from the stuff bugs and the trophies. Ended up having 3 floors, with the first 2 floors being the main parts of the museum and the stuff bug collection, and then the top floor being my penthouse. I tried building a nice atrium so you could look down on a mushroom garden, but again the mushrooms hadn't grown as I forgot to plant them too soon. So you'll see that again once we start up the next series of Let's Plays and live streams. And yep, only one of the stuff ant queens, because I haven't actually got the pieces from the other 2 as I befriended them. There's something else to add to our museum and give us some content other than just try and survive against all the infused bugs in New Game Plus. Now there's just one thing I might have forgotten. Oh, that's right, starting New Game Plus. Let's go. There we go, day 200. Let's go, baby. Let's go into New Game Plus. Okay, let's go. Let's do this. Here we go! Whoa. As we spawned in the kids' case once more, it was time to run over to Burgle while I explain exactly what New Game Plus is. Bugs are tougher, they're going to do more damage. There are special infused bugs that have even more health and do even more damage with special effects. They can hit you with magic like ice, spicy or even sour orbs, have more defense, infect you with venom and a lot more. Every boss in New Game Plus is going to be infused, so even tougher than they normally are. But I'll be showing you all of them as we would face off against every single boss again. But first, a friendly hello to Burgle once more. Milk molars would be spawning in random places, so we'd be able to increase our stats and give us a bit more protection against the infused creatures, as well as raw science, giving us enough to go ahead and buy some of the brand new weapons that were added in each stage of New Game Plus. The biggest component of New Game Plus though is to upgrade your current weapons, utilising something called Infused Ooze, which you get as maybe a drop from infused bugs, and deduper jelly, a resource that you get when you go ahead and dedupe trinkets you don't want. A whole bunch more trinkets have been added to the game, potentially dropping from every kind of bug, although some will drop more than others. So the ones you don't like with effects in them that aren't really going to be useful, you can dedupe and hopefully craft new upgrades called fusion crystals for your gear. We'll cover that in more detail. Let's head home to my giant museum base and see what's cooking. So the green shield bugs that live on top of the Brawny Boy bin box don't normally respawn when you kill them the first time, but each New Game Plus they will. What green meanies they were, and that's something I'm going to have to think about if I keep playing New Game Plus in the future.
One fell swoop, my base is wrecked. Oh, the humanity. Oh my god, no.
So if my base absolutely wrecked, I was going to need to repair and get some new resources again, as I was running out of things like lint. Along the way I did go and scan the infused ooze, which unlocked obviously the infusion crystals. We get more ways to make these, as you can get special infused ooze from bosses, which are meant to make farming them the best way to go to get upgrades for your weapons. So that will happen soon, but first go and get that lint, taking on my first infused bug, yep, the mighty Dustmite. At this stage, with no weapon upgrades, no health upgrades, you can see how tough it's going to be facing off against just a simple creature. Infused creatures do act just like regular ones, they'll have the same weaknesses and strengths, so you've got to use the right kind of weapon to take them on. The guaranteed reward from killing them is 3000 raw science, which we'll need to buy the new weapons. It took me a couple of days to repair and get things sorted, so by the time I was done, it was already day 203. Before I began New Game Plus, I went and gave a special infected treat to the Red Ant Queen. This meant in this version of New Game Plus, I had the infected ants running around this anthill, and they were at war with the regular ants. Both of them gave me some vital drops. I'd be getting new weapons and a shield by killing these guys, but they were pretty tough. The shield especially would come in handy, as it was going to give me explosive resist. Like I mentioned earlier, milk motors will spawn in random places and they're essential for survival. You need them to increase your health, your stamina, and collect them all before you begin the next New Game Plus. Because when you go to the next New Game Plus, any previous ones you didn't find will be lost and reset and new ones will spawn. Deeper into the anthill and we came across the Ant Queen. These were added at the same time as New Game Plus, so do make sure you watch my previous 100 days to see exactly how I encountered and what choices I made with all of them. Now if I give her a special treat, the mouldy hoagie, the same thing you use to summon the infected Broodmother, she'll give us a new crafting station where we'll be able to make the trinkets ourselves with all brand new random effects. But again, that was going to be something we'd have to go and get the ingredients for a little later. Right now, it was time to start clearing out the red ants, trying to pick up as much of the infused ooze as possible, and hopefully some trinkets drop in, as they're both only a random chance of happening. That sour orb is probably the worst effect that infused creatures have, as there's almost no escape once it starts hitting you. On the way home, I went and scanned the infected parts, giving me access to the new spear, and obviously that shield. And I'd already found enough milk motors to start the process of making myself stronger once again. Day 204, a trip to the deck and hopefully get some toenails, as we'd need it for the mouldy hoagie. And then again, I spent the rest of the day farming red ants, hopefully trying to get as much raw science and them chances of infused ooze and trinkets. At this stage, these are the only ones you really want to be messing with, as just so many other bugs are going to be too tough. Bitty big balls that I am, I decided to do a mixer, and that was a massive mistake. Summoning way too many creatures and infused at once. Oh! Well, okay, I didn't want to die. On the way back to my body, again the green shield bugs were giving me trouble. That's the other thing that New Game Plus does, it swaps around certain spawns and makes certain creatures appear in different parts of the yard. Just about managed to defeat them, got the rest of the bug parts, and then got out of there. In New Game Plus 1, these loot chests would only have crinkles, basically tier 1 trinkets with only one effect, but as you progress you'll find better ones like the waffles and cones. So he's got venom and he's got bombs. Meaning some attacks are going to do explosive damage. Well, I've got my sleek helmet, which in theory should give me more protection, but not against maybe 2 infused. Oh, I want to slow him down. You've got to have the best reflexes, or certainly use a lot of roly-poly armour if you're not good at perfect blocking if you want to survive. You now were given 1500 raw science every time you got one of the raw bundles, so definitely an improvement, and we need lots of it to buy all the new gear. Round 2 with these infused arachnids, and this time I would smash them. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration. Fudge! Yes! It's what makes New Game Plus so difficult. These infused creatures all have random effects that they might have, so you can never have the perfect build to fight just one of them. There's also not a lot you can do against some of their attacks, like the magic ones. Ran back to gather all my lost gear on day 205 from the anthill, and then went and got the ingredients that I still needed to make the mouldy hoagie. And yep, I wasn't about to face off against the Was Queen just yet, so I made sure I went and used the duper machine at the field station. Mouldy hoagie on cook. Once it was complete, I went back down to the anthill. Before I got there though, I had my first big test, an infused stink bug. Luckily he had shock damage, which I managed to avoid. You can also see I was using the brand's new spear, the Frongir, which is meant to do explosive charge damage, but I kind of found it a bit weak sauce. I headed on down to the anthill and said hello to the Ant Queen. Oh, yum 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 yum. Boom, sauce jar unlocked. The sausage jar would come in handy later on, but only when you've got enough deduper jelly. Now, obviously if I'd killed the Ant Queen in the previous run, it would have left open that cave and I would have been able to get a whole bunch of upgrade materials. But by doing it now, it meant I had all of this access to all of these loot chests too. Now a lot of people are grumpy because they feel like I should be giving advice that you should befriend all the Ant Queens in your first run. but by infecting the first one I could, this meant I was able to go ahead and get the sausager a whole new game plus early, which means I can craft my own trinkets and hopefully get a chance of getting an effect I want. I spent the rest of the day and night clearing out the anthill, farming infused and infected ants as much as possible. So day 206 I had enough now to go ahead and craft a sausager. This would help me get the Globassa links, which are the equivalent of the crinkle trinkets, giving us one effect per trinket and obviously a random chance of whatever it could be. But you can see I can craft Hilbassa bombs, the brand new tier 3 bomb as well, and you save on resources as you don't need as much. So this is the cycle. Any trinkets that are useless to you, go ahead and dedupe at a field station, and then you can use that deduper jelly to go ahead and upgrade your weapons or re-roll and hopefully craft some Globassa links. Day 207 I ran over to the hedge, took care of some more infused, and then faced off for the first time against the infused Broodmother.
Oh, she's magic. That is bad.
Yep, not only would the sour orb stun you, they took away your health, pretty much killed you in one hit if you got caught.
Oh my god!
I ended up dying another 3 times trying to take it on before I finally admitted defeat and realised I needed some more healing and maybe some more new gear. It's pretty much all just luck based at the moment what type of infused creature you'll get. It can be random every time you summon a boss, but I needed to persist and kill her because I needed to craft the brand new yoking station, which was how we was going to upgrade our weapons beyond level 9 up to level 15. So after a quick dash home, day 208 I tried again. Not only was she infused, but some of her minions had a chance to be infused too, making the fight even more difficult. I went with Giddy Goop, which I got from killing some of the firelight bugs, and that was slowing down her attacks. And of course my spicy Makahana here was coming in clutch, as it was obviously going to do more damage, as that's what the Broodmother is always weak to. But overall it was because of the effect that she had made this fight a lot easier, with lifesteal taking 20% of any damage she did and giving it back to herself as healing. That was pretty much the best scenario for trying to beat her. I also got really lucky that none of the minions he spawned this time ended up being infused.
Yes!
That is all I needed to do. Okay, yeah, I'm not fighting that again. Let's go. Mission accomplished. I can now go ahead and make the yoking station and debate about which weapons would be worth upgrading. It was so expensive to do so, you really got to think carefully. But for me, the best bet will always be the acid edge, especially in the first stages. But I needed so many more fusion crystals. They needed 10 of the infused ooze plus 5 deduper jelly. That only makes 1 fusion crystal. You need 5 of these crystals to get the first upgrade, bringing your weapon to level 10. Level 11 would need 10 fusion crystals, level 12, 15, and you get the idea. Hundreds of fusion crystals to go ahead and get your weapon to its max level. And you get the idea. So I weren't going to be maxing out my weapons for a good long while, maybe not until the next New Game Plus. So the grind is real, I best get on with it. First off, checking and looking for any place that milk molars might spawn, as well as hopefully some more loot chests, and taking out more infused bugs as I try to make my way to the hedge lab. And again, to get to the next New Game Plus, we'd have to complete the major laboratories, as we still needed all of the super burgle chips to gain access to the undershed and complete the mant fight and of course the Java-matic once more. That's the only way that the special secret door opens and we can start another New Game Plus once we defeated the 3 bosses. There was plenty of opportunities to take on some of the infused spiderlings, and I nabbed myself some more milk molars and some extra raw science. Each one of the major laboratories had another added bonus though. The super burgle chip that you'd pick up, they were now actually trinkets with special effects in them to make a little bit of an extra reward completing these dungeons once more. Each one of the 4 main chips comes with a set determined effect, which in this case for the hedge is full damage, and then you get a random effect alongside it, which ain't gonna lie was weak sauce to me as I hated unarmed builds. I scoured every part of the hedge, made sure I picked up even more from the loot chests, and on the way home made a detour to the secret berry hedge lab. A lot of the trinkets that you'll find, including the omnit badges, also have additional effects in them, or you might even find double the amount of trinkets like I got here. One will be normal, the other will have an additional effect, so hopefully you'll be really lucky. And yeah, I'm not lucky because Bow Up Miner is only about 10% extra damage, so again, weak sauce. I
spent some time getting rid of all these useless trinkets before treating myself with a brand new weapon reward by buying the recipe for the Breath Slayer. Pretty much all the recipes for the new weapons are two-handed weapons, giving you alternate versions of some of your favourite elemental damage types. In this case, I figured the Breath Slayer would be good as we fight against a lot of infected, so a nice little reward as I made my way home and then crafted even more of the fusion crystals. Still didn't have enough to go ahead and get a upgrade yet for it, so instead I went and maxed out what I could with the Breath Slayer and checked it out. And for sure it's pretty good against, like I said, infected creatures. It was now day 210 and it was time to go and investigate the Haze lab. I'd obviously previously gathered all the recipes needed to either go ahead and befriend the Ant Queen, Poisoner or Infector in the previous run, but I've decided to go and get them again just to show everyone when I was live streaming. Before facing off against an infused infected ladybug. And yeah, it was tough as she had venom, not to mention some of the dust mites also being infused. But the Breath Slayer was definitely the right choice for this boss fight and I quickly took it down.
Yes.
Quickly beasted the infected mites and nabbed the Haze chip. Every super chip that you get from the Haze will have gas guard, and in this case I had invincible attack on top, which was again maybe not the best combo. I made life a bit more difficult for myself by exiting out of the pipe, taking care of more infused bugs, before getting beasted by this infused firebug.
Wow. Wow.
Honestly, at this stage of the game, I was starting to really not enjoy New Game Plus. I felt like I was playing Elden Ring, just so many bugs absolutely demolishing me.
No!
This attack by these ladybird larvae really pissed me off, even though I died a bunch of times and should have realised I'd go and get some maybe heals. I decided I wanted revenge.
Oh, it's the second one. Fudge!
And yeah, it took quite a few goes before I finally got there. With my gear absolutely smashed and broken, a valuable lesson in always keeping a bunch of glue on you, I finally did it.
Suck your mum. Suck your mother.
I apologise to all mothers out there. No time to stay angry, I carried on my adventures and dived into the pond to complete the pond lab as quickly as I could. You don't need to bother getting keys again to open up some of the mysterious little chests you find, and they're usually filled with goodies. Although the chips will only get you some raw science, no special trinkets. I did the usual, turning on all the breakers, and came face to face for the first time with an infused Haze tea. Cleared out the rest of the Haze tea and Ruz teas out of the pond dome room. I was pleased to see some more infused loot boxes, giving me even more trinkets, and of course lots of the muscle sprouts, which I had started to run out of. For sure, the revisits to these labs with the infused creatures does make it a little bit more interesting. It still kind of sucks that the rewards in terms of the trinkets can often be still so random. You're always guaranteed to get Veteran Diver on the Super Burgle chip, but I also got Red Ant damage, again a pretty useless combination. But I made the most of everything and cleared out as much of the pond as possible, finding extra milk molars and absolutely sinking more of the infused diving bell spiders.
Come on. Yes. Man, I chased him like all the way around the pond. Just realised this one hasn't got any ability.
He did, it just wasn't noticeable as it was basically just extra defense. 2 more fusion crystals crafted, but still not enough. I spent the rest of the day running around, gathering loot, milk molars, and again, more taking on infused bugs. And in fact, that was pretty much the repeat pattern for the next 2 days, with a few minor missteps. I was making the most of my Breath Slayer, taking it to the Haze, and taking on as many infected creatures as I could. With an absolute passion though, these sour orbs are definitely my least favourite infused bugs. Each one of these would absolutely wreck me. It's been 2 months since the update hit and we still haven't really had a nerf to them, so they're still pretty much OP. So nothing was easy, but I was determined to finally get a good amount of upgrades for my sour battle axe. And finally I done it. 5 of the fusion crystals, enough to go ahead and get my first real serious upgrade, but what would I really go for? I did contemplate maybe doing the Breath Slayer, but absolutely the Acid Edge I think is the best way to go, simply just because it is OP, stunning so many creatures, and now that massive extra attack damage. Went and crafted the Wallopino and a few of the other new recipe weapons that I got, although I wouldn't really end up using them because it felt like such a waste trying to get them upgraded beyond level 9.
And so many of the special perks that they had, and a recent update kind of made a lot of the special perks they had kind of rubbish. Day 216 and I went over to the Black Ant Hill to finish off the last of the super chip labs. Now you could only infect the first Ant Queen in a normal game and have to actually wait until the next New Game Plus to go ahead and infect the Black Ant Queen. And the recipe for that was hidden behind the door when I defeated the assistant manager, but of course he was infused, as well as these traps independently running from each other, basically making this fight a lot tougher but not impossible. I definitely bought the right armour with the roly-poly giving me extra defence, and as long as I stayed away from most of the traps and took out any of the Taze Ts or the Ruz Ts that spawned, I maybe had a good chance. Although my poison club probably wasn't the best weapon, realising that poison does no damage to these guys. I ain't gonna lie, I did use up a ton of heals before finally switching to the Sour Battle Axe, and I finally took it out.
Yeah, to be fair, it's pretty easy. Level 10, Sour Axe, all the way baby, all the way.
Again, with the assistant manager keycard now, I would be able to access so many extra doors and hopefully get extra loot. So remember, this infected recipe doesn't appear here unless you're in New Game Plus 1. Grabbed another useless chip. Do believe you always get Dust Guard, but the block strength was pretty weak sauce again. I spent the whole of day 217 using that card to gain access to all of them secret places, as well as obviously gathering more infused ooze. And as night fell, I headed up to the deck to hopefully activate Wendell's Scab and get access to the undershed lab. I still was in need of a lot of green scarab shells to go ahead and make upgrades for the rest of my weapons that I was unlocking. And it's a pretty good source for infused dust mites, but not so good or easy termite. Oh! Yeah, there's definitely some strange sounds coming from me during this playthrough. I slept the rest of the night and came renewed with vigour and vengeance in my heart on day 218. Grabbed the scarab shells and then battled the Black Ox beetles, trying to see if I could get a more advanced trinket. There's 3 levels. You've got obviously the crinkles that only give you 1 effect, the special little waffles that give 2, and then the cones that give 3, and these guys have got the best chance of dropping them, at least at this stage of New Game Plus. Sadly no cones, but I did get a whole bunch of waffles, but again all pretty much useless, so I went and deduped them. I wasn't planning on completing the undershed lab on this one run, just wanted to make sure I cleared out the rest of the place first. I did go on a killing spree taking on all of these all weavers. After all that work, I was now fully maxed health again, and had everything I needed to go ahead and make the infected gum sandwich ready to feed the Black Ant Queen. And that's why I headed off on day 219. Wonder how many of you guys have befriended every Ant Queen, or have you been a mass murderer and decimated them, or gone the infected route? Let me know your plans in the comments below. Infected. Woo! Got a nice haul again of more trinket boxes. And before returning home, I went and explored the sandbox, getting more loot from the treasure chest and more of them vital milk molars. Now the plan was to get my stamina and my healing maxed. The infused ant lions weren't too bad. I was pretty disappointed there weren't any more of the loot chest with all them trinkets and that ooze. I had also unlocked the recipe for the strategist set, but it was going to be a while before I could actually craft it because I went and lost my baby pet ant. There was a pretty bad glitch that you could lose them and all of the inventory that you'd put inside. It's fixed now, but yeah, I was kind of pissed that I'd lost some of my gear. So I won't be able to actually completely make all of the Ant Queen arm sets until the next New Game Plus. Day 220 and I ran back through the undershed, this time with the purpose of taking on the Mant. Them elusive milk molars were still avoiding me, as was my parkour skills. I did eventually get it and cleared out the rest of the undershed before going into the laboratory. This will definitely be a tough fight, but certainly not impossible, and definitely one of the easier ones compared to a lot of the other bosses. But again, it's all just dependent on what luck you get each time you respawn, what effect they have. I had managed to finally craft the infected shield, so I definitely had the tools to withstand some resistance to explosives, but I wasn't expecting to see a mini-mant. Each of the bosses, of these ones at least anyway, have a little chance of having a mini-me, which makes life definitely a lot harder. Especially when the minions are also infused and that bloody sour orb again. This is bad, dudes. Okay, he's dead. Oh, but I'm dead.
Attempt number 2, and again it had the explosive resist, so I figured I might be onto a winner, but I wasn't keeping an eye enough on my health. Third time lucky with one of my favourite weapons, which I nearly went ahead and upgraded, the Rusty Spear. Also helped that he'd switched, and now he was giving me ice damage, which slows you down and does do a bit of damage, but it's definitely one of the weaker magic ones.
Get in!
So you don't get many rewards for these guys, and unlike obviously a lot of the other bosses that you can replay, you only get one chance to kill them. That becomes important in New Game Plus 4 when you've got a good chance of getting a special weapon from bosses. So that will be something we'll try and aim for in the next 50 days. But I did the usual, went and talked to Wendell, and we were done. Day 221, I decided to go ahead and craft the acid staff, which I'd managed to unlock previously by killing the Fire Ant Queen. And I could definitely see the appeal with the right type of build. Charge shots obviously aren't going to work as it fires pretty rapidly, and it technically does the same damage as Spicy. You don't really get any benefit from using Whittle Wizard as it doesn't give any attack damage. Anywho, it was fun to use for a moment, but I switched over to my other staves as I went on a rampage to keep farming infusion pieces and maybe trinkets.
Oh! Okay, they got their revenge. They got their revenge.
More milk motor upgrades and another fusion crystal crafted. The next 2 days was filled with me just going roaming around looking for milk molars, loot crates and getting enough ingredients to go ahead and start the Java-matic. Also went and grabbed another 2 Omnant cards, but again they're still pretty much not worth it even with additional effects. This one in the giant milk molar tub only gave me minor reflect damage. And the one at the grill was even worse. Attack and imperfect block as usual, but then stun, which I think is pretty poor for this. I had some trouble with the WAS as I tried to get a milk molar out of the tool chest, and for sure it was giving me nightmares about the fact I'd have to face off against the infused Wasp Queen pretty soon. I managed to lure this one back to my base just towards the end of the day and eventually took it out.
Yes! He's dead! Oh!
But finally done it, had everything I needed to start the Java-matic base defense. A few repairs later, but before we would begin, I went and checked out the secret hall of loot underneath the Java-matic itself in the special lab bunker. And there was a good haul of normal chests that you have, as well as some infused ones. I treated myself to another new weapon in the Sour Katanga, as well as the Science Rug set, meaning I only needed the Frosted Flake and the Burgle bundle to buy, and I was pretty much done for this New Game Plus. At this point I'd built up quite a lot of raw science, so I decided to just go for it and start absolutely duping all the infusion crystals, and I've finally done it. I had enough to get to level 11 with my Sour Acid Edge. I prepped for the defense by making sure I had the gong to give me some small but yet crucial offense attack, and made good on the rest of my defences, adding more mushroom walls and more, but I got interrupted by a raid from Orb Weavers. Once I took care of them, I added some more spike walls, and we were good to go on day 225 for the defense itself. It started out pretty good. I was absolutely kicking butt with my upgraded Sour Edge. I had neglected one of them and a whole bunch of firebugs had managed to break through, so I had to quickly make some repairs. The dust mites were really making this a lot harder than it needs to be. I was quite lucky that a whole bunch of different infused creatures never really attacked, only a few. I might have been more in trouble if there was more infused Black Ox beetles. It was an absolutely slugfest though. I forgot how long it actually takes, and certainly definitely more of a challenge. I highly recommend you build lots of cement walls or hundreds of mushroom ones. I was quite proud of doing it the first time round.
Come on, it must be done! Yes!
I went and grabbed the embiggening cocktail, and then realised I would need some spider venom from the Black Widows to go ahead and craft the next treat for the Fire Ant Queen. So that's what I did on day 226, although I've got to say my skills were maybe lacking as I got absolutely demolished the first time and it wasn't even infused.
Whoa!
I've been building up a nice selection of different trinkets now. I've managed to find ones with extra damage against most of the bosses, but not the Black Widow itself. But what I had come across was a waffle that made any creature more weak against Sour, which was perfect for Acid Edge. And bearing in mind the Black Widows are already weak against it. So I spent some time farming some of the Widow Spiderlings and hopefully give myself a chance of getting even more ooze. As by now the deduper jelly wasn't a problem, it was still the use I needed so much of to go ahead and keep getting more upgrades. Days 227 and 228 weren't really filled with much action other than me just trying to work out what I would need and decide on doing with the Fire Ant Queen itself. I experimented with the waft emitter on top of the Brawny Boy bin box, but apparently it doesn't work. And knowing it's a pretty tough place to go and explore, especially with all the infused ones, I went and tried and cleared out the Fire Ant Hill as best as I could before coming back the next day to go ahead and decide her fate. I did have only two choices as there wasn't the infected recipe not until New Game Plus 2, so it was either poison or befriend. As handy as it would be getting that third and final mutation buff that I needed to make all ants pretty much friendly, I decided I'd still wanted just some more fire ant pieces and get access to all the secret loot in the hill and area behind her.
Yeah, we'll take all these.
I grabbed Thor's pendant on the way home, and again there was two of them, one just on its own and another one with an extra buff. I managed to get perfect block, which was pretty decent, but the rest of the pendant isn't as good as it used to be. Scanned all of the Fire Ant Queen stuff and added some final touches to the museum now I had all the body parts. Well, apart from the Black Ant Queen. Rest of the day I went and decided to try and clear out the termite wood pile, but it was definitely tougher than I expected. Closed corridors are not the one for these sour orbs. What I did get, which was really good and I've been sleeping on too long, was damage resist and crit days on one trinket. I didn't realise damage resist can give you 50% damage reduction, and that would come in clutch when it came to fighting the infected Broodmother. I died a bunch of times trying to get my gear back, everything was broken, and I decided this was it. I'd have to go home, regroup and get myself some extra heals. So day 230 I finally made my way through to the Kings and took out the pair of lover boys. Yep, two Termite Kings. Luckily, or maybe unluckily, one of them wasn't infused, so it's pretty easy to take care of with my sour axe. And unless you really need the parts, it wasn't really worth it as there was no extra loot and not many milk molars in here either. On the way back, maybe stupidly, I decided to see what kind of experience it might be taking on the Mantis, so I gave it a whirl. And yeah, I got my butt kicked a bunch of times and decided I definitely needed a bit more prep.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, mate.
I'm not ashamed to say that even with making sure I had the extra buff from the trophy and a bunch more heals, I still got my arse handed to me.
No way! I was nowhere near that!
I finally realised I had a trinket that gave me 30% extra damage against the Mantis Queen, so that's what I went and used the very next day. With just a quick pit stop to go and get some much needed muscle sprouts to replenish all of my healing smoothies. And yeah, we carried on as we left off as she beasted me. But this time, no, with my roly-poly armour coming in clutch again to give me that extra defence and using my rusty spear, I finally whittled her down. The explosive resist shield was also really coming in handy.
Come on! Come on! Come on! Yes!
I died 16 times to her in the battles over the last couple of days, so I was pretty relieved to finally defeat her. And it was only at this point that I remembered that the bosses drop their own unique ooze that you can make basically cheaper infused crystals with. As long as you can take on one or two of the bosses again, then it's definitely cheaper than trying to get 10 infused ooze. Basically, I'm a chicken shit and I didn't want to have to face off against these bosses again, not anytime soon. Spent the next day scouring for milk molars with not much luck, but I did find some more extra loot chests. A good spot is where you find the 4-leaf clover. Day 234 I went and took care of another Black Widow, again because it had some decent loot inside its lair, and then made my way over to Molduk's castle. More infused loot, and then finally facing off against Director Schmector again. So this fight, as well as the infected Broodmother, is obviously entirely optional. You don't need to complete them to go ahead and gain access to the next New Game Plus, but I wanted to see what kind of rewards I would get. And it's pretty much the same deal, it's all based on what kind of effect it'll have, depending on whether or not you'll succeed, just like it is with the Mantis. Difference being though, if you die on this occasion, you can obviously resummon it and it will have a new effect, but obviously you won't keep being able to take the fight again.
Director Schmector, just like the infected Broodmother, does drop special weapons and fused ones in New Game +4, but that's obviously a long way away at the moment. He was pretty tough, just like the assistant manager. The lasers would come on at different random times than they would before, and it all seemed quite a bit more intense. But with my upgraded Sour Battle Axe, I just kept going in for the kill and hoped and prayed I got the last hit in before I got vaporised. Maybe all weavers weren't really a problem with the Sour Battle Axe, but I certainly didn't want to get crisscrossed with that green laser. And then I just went for it, remembering that the lasers don't automatically shut off as soon as you kill Director Schmector, so make sure you are still safe when you've got the final killing blow. Yes! Get wrecked! Pretty disappointed there was no big reward for killing Schmector, not even some infused ooze. Like literally nothing, no Easter egg, no raw science, kind of a massive waste of time. So don't do it kids, wait until New Game +4 before taking on Schmector. Day 235 I checked out on the remaining stuff I needed to buy, which pretty much was only Burgle's bundle. I'd already bought the Wallopino, the Breath Slayer and the other weapons, but I just weren't really going to be using them as I'd committed to maybe making the Sour Battle Axe, the Acid Edge, my favourite and biggest upgraded weapon. I did some maintenance and base sorting on the rest of the day, and then day 236 decided to go and use Burgle's glasses as well as the spatula to see what life looked like in 8-bit world. This is what his glasses do, it basically makes everything look like it's a game from the early 90s, with Burgle's old flipper meant to be a weapon, but honestly it's probably the worst one going. I couldn't really work out if I was using it wrong, it just simply didn't do a lot of damage, and I even committed to upgrading it to level 9, but don't panic, I didn't use or waste my fusion crystals on it. I had a raid of mosquitoes coming to test it, and yeah, it's pretty poor. I get it's meant to be a joke, especially the glasses, I quite like the way it looks, but certainly the actual flipper itself definitely needs a massive buff or boost. The mosquitoes did a massive amount of damage to my staircase and surrounding area, and it took a good long time for me to go ahead and kill them. Why didn't I just switch to a regular weapon? I was committing to the bit of wearing this whole outfit for at least one Let's Play episode, and remember you can go and check out so much more details and so much more that I'm not showing here by watching the full Let's Plays and live streams. Once the defense was over, I headed over to the stump lab to see if there was any kind of extra loot inside the stump lab itself. Some milk molars for sure, and of course the rest of the special charm that you can combine to get invincible shielding and invincible damage, but nothing else. And then I had one more day wearing the goggles as I tried to get more milk molars and again did some more maintenance around the base. Day 238, it was time to piss off the WAS to hopefully get access to the Brawny Boy bin box, which had closed again during New Game Plus. Out of all the boss fights, I felt like the WAS Queen was going to be the most difficult, especially as I pumped all my upgrades into my Sour Battle Axe and didn't really have anything good or ranged. But first we need to go in there and explore. Took care of the dust mites and termites as normal, and then was again pretty much swamped by the WAS as I tried to gain access to the top of Haze T, where there seemed to be some milk molars. Plan was to clear out this Brawny Boy bin box completely first, and then the very next day, or as soon as I could, go and take care of the WAS Queen on its own. I had to be quick as I didn't want all the WAS respawning in between me coming back. One of the few omnant badges that doesn't have any extra effects, so don't go rushing and get excited about hopefully getting something different. And now in my Sour Battle Axe, definitely the Black Widows weren't as scary as they normally were, although I still had a bit of trouble taking care of this one. I killed the rest of the Black Widow spiderlings and then obviously went for the egg sack with the Whittle Whittling, the special trinket that you can get from the egg sack here, but no bonus added to it. I've done it, oh lordy. Yep, I was bricking it. This was the fight I was least looking forward to. And with good reason, with the amount of chances of her summons also being infused, it was going to make the fight incredibly difficult. Oh, run. Wow. Okay, that is pretty hard. I was filled with quite a bit of confidence. I'd already got them whittled down with just my bow, but I hadn't got the right gear on. The helmet wasn't doing nothing for me with this Sour Battle Axe, but it certainly was doing a good amount of damage. I managed to get it almost down to half health when she kicked in with a vengeance. No, what? The WAS Queen is so hard it makes grounded crash whenever you try switching gear to fight her. Like come on, as if it wasn't hard enough. The game just absolutely hated me. Pretty much comes to the conclusion that at the moment, if it's sour orbs, maybe the spicy or explosive, it's sometimes just not even worth trying to take on these bosses. You're better off just dying or reloading your game and hoping you get something a bit easier. And I certainly died a lot. But finally, after about 3 or 4 times, I got enough of a health down, took care of the minions and weighed in with the last of my axe swings to hopefully down her. Come on, you're nearly there! You're nearly there! No! Yes! Yes! Get in! Don't get too cocky. Oh no! Was always have a sting in their tail. But at least I managed to get the win and I'd done it. Completed the 3 bosses to go ahead and start New Game Plus if I wanted to. Again, realising we've got more of the special bosses, but I weren't going to be duping that as it was still expensive compared to just getting the fusion crystals. And on day 141 I had to defend another raid as I was getting myself sorted. It seems the Woz wanted revenge for me killing their mama. I just about managed to defend it and realised that I would need maybe more better defences, but I got there in the end, and day 142 decided it was time to stop being an absolute fanny and go and take on the bosses, as this would be maybe the quickest way to get enough ooze to get the upgrades I wanted. But even with a more powerful sour battle axe and a lot better trinkets, she was no joke. 1-0 to the Broodmother. But after that first fail, I did do a lot better the next 3 goes, and I managed to farm her pretty successfully, getting more infused parts. I spent the next 2 days summoning creatures with the waft emitter, with some mixed results. It was okay when I was taking on the ants, maybe stink bugs and 1 or 2 black widows, but then I stupidly summoned about 8 or 9. And yeah, I got wrecked. Day 245 was me pretty much going to all corners of the backyard. I grabbed 1 or 2 extra milk molars, but I still didn't have enough for what I really wanted, which was to get all of my stamina max upgraded before taking on the infected Broodmother. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere, from the sandbox to the picnic table to the ladybird larvae tunnel. I just was desperate for any more loot, but more importantly, milk molars. More battles with black widows in their lairs, but again no substantial loot. I did then remember there was a milk molar on top of the tripod, so used some clay foundations to get up there pretty quick, and then got another one. With these 2 I could now get enough to fully upgrade my max stamina too. By the end of the day I finally had enough, 15 fusion crystals to get the next upgrade for my sour battle axe. In the end though, I decided to go a bit different. With only infected Broodmother to fight, I figured I needed a fresh weapon, and I was really missing having a shield, having used the sour battle axe for so long, so instead I went and upgraded it at least twice to the same level as my sour battle axe. The last couple days were spent just scouring the yard once more, looking for them all important milk molars to see if I could increase my healing. I was pleased to say I found a good few more. Taking some time to take on this moth. Day 248 I remembered I'd have to actually turn off the haze to get access to the infected Broodmother, and I came across some more milk molars. Spent the rest of the day clearing out the haze, looking for any extra loot, and then back over to the trench as I kinda had a feeling there might be something inside the basket in the BMX. In the end though, I reckon I missed out on probably maybe 8 or 9 milk molars, but I really didn't worry too much. I got my max stamina, max healing, max health. The only thing I wasn't really getting max was the food and water. And it was nearly time, the early part of day 249, sorting out some more stuff around my base, making sure I had duplicates of my armour sets so that I could now have them close to hand instead of running around the whole museum. Crafted as many healing smoothies as I could, and rejigged a lot of my special zip lines so I could get around the map easier when I do eventually begin New Game Plus 2. A quick nap and it was good to go. I brought everything with me. I had the trophy for the infected Broodmother. I took it over and made myself a little outpost outside her lair, even with a fridge and lots of meals so I wouldn't lose any additional benefits. Concealed antlion and spider slider for the win. Then it was time to choose the trinkets. Which would I go with? I had lots of sour up and sour damage major, which was pretty good, but for the infected Broodmother, as said, I needed something that was going to either do fresh damage or just straight up extra damage against her. Nothing was really fitting the bill, and that's when the resist came in. I didn't realise it was 50%, thanks for the wiki for that. And that's what I went with, crit, daze as well as damage resist, and it seemed to do the job, especially when I eventually switched halfway through this fight to my explosive resistant shield. Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, She had an absolute ton of health even in the first stage. I thought this was going to go really bad, but I'd lucked out. Her effect was indeed explosive damage and I felt pretty good equipped.
This is just the first level. I am not going to do this, people. I am not going to do this.
So I was lacking in confidence, but I did manage to at least do it the first time. Stage 2 was pretty tough. Overall, this fight lasted about 10 minutes, I swear. And although I wasn't doing a huge amount of damage with my blade, I still felt like it was the best route to go, making sure to take care of her egg spawns so she didn't get an extra damage buff. I persevered, I've tried blocking as much as possible and made sure I used all of them smoothies, and it came in clutch as I defeated her for the second phase.
Run.
But my days, the third absolute phase was a killer. She moved so quick, that explosive damage was beasting me, but that shield was absolutely coming in clutch. So yeah, screw you to all the haters that give me crap from not making friends with all the ants. This was definitely the way to go for me. It was coming down to the wire. I only had 2 Fuzz on the Rocks smoothies left, and I couldn't see her as she just kept hitting me with these waves of smoke, and I managed to just about avoid getting blown up. I'm not sure I would have been able to do this fight if I hadn't invested all that time in looking for the milk molars. Overall, this whole playthrough for the 50 days has taken me over 30 hours. Just to give you an idea of what you might have to go through if you're not a particularly good player like me.
Yes! I did it! Oh my god, people, I did it the first time. Out of all the bosses, this is the one that I did the first time. Admittedly, I used up like 40 potions. And something I've never realised before, how strong damage resist is. Didn't realise it was 50%, that definitely came in clutch. And the shield as well. Yeah, boy, all them people saying, oh, don't infect the ants, because then you won't be able to get the ant pet. Who cares about an ant pet when you can have an infected ant shield giving you that explosive resist? And that was, alright, lucky. It could have been magic. It could have been. I'm happy. I've done it. Woo!
No time to mess around. It was straight over to the mysterious door again.
Oh, baby. Here we go. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. Ooh. I do like that sound. It's a very, very cool sound. Now, of course, I didn't actually continue too much this specific New Game Plus run through. In fact, I did do maybe 1 or 2 of them, but I was still lagging behind trying to get another 4 New Game Pluses done in the following 50 days. Instead, I came up with an idea of going back in the time to go and see what the previous updates for Grounded were like. That can be watched in some of my little Let's Plays. So if you want to go and check that out and see how Grounded really began, please go and check out the playlist, which you'll find in the description box, comments, and the end screen slate. But of course, I had to cut short my plans because Grounded 2 got announced. Honestly, I was so excited, so hyped. I wasn't expecting it until 2026. I'd always known it was popular enough to get a sequel. And I'm so glad and so happy it's coming out so soon. And so of course, our adventures continue, and don't worry, I'm going to be doing more 100 days if you've enjoyed this one in the brand new game. But big shout out to all the supporters, all the commenters over the years, all 50,000 subs, 54 people in Discord, the Grounded official Discord, a Twitch community that helps support Obsidian, my moderators, and everyone else. It's been an amazing journey with this second channel of mine, really trying to grow Grounded and a few other games, but really this is the one before all others. I've done now over 2,000 Grounded videos in 5 years, over 30 million views. I've dedicated so much time to editing and being part of the community with these uploads and stuff, but couldn't do it without you guys watching and liking, so thank you so much. I'm going to do exactly what I did with Grounded 1. You're going to see news, you're going to see guides, you're going to see Let's Plays, 100 days and live streams. Can't wait to see what adventures we're going to have, so please do make sure you subscribe. You've got the notification bell dinged, and I'll see you ratbags in Grounded 2 very, very soon.